Good afternoon. Senate Transportation Committee will come to order. Could we take the roll, please?
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Eric. All right, let's do some, we have a couple of requests for bills to be stricken. Senator Hashmi wishes that Senate Bill 405 be stricken. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have to, it's recorded. All, set the roll. Senator Servo, you want? Okay, he is a yes on that. Okay. Bill is stricken. We also have from Senator Ruff a request that Senate Bill 1056 be stricken from the calendar, from the docket.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor? Vote aye. Opposed, nay. 15-0. That bill is stricken. Senate Bill 468, not sure of the patron on that, but the patron has requested on Senate Bill 468 that we strike that bill.
Moved. So moved.
We have a first and a second. Here you go. All in favor? Yes. All right. Here is what we're going to do today. We are first going to hear Senator Hashmi has to attend a subcommittee meeting that she is chairing and would like to get her one bill dealt with before she goes over. That would be Senate Bill 911. Turn your attention to Senator Hashmi. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee, for indulging me on this particular bill. This is SB 911, and this bill is addressing the need to provide adequate parking spaces for electric vehicles. Now, I myself don't own an electric vehicle, but I have friends who do, and I know that oftentimes being able to charge the electric vehicle is problematic because other cars that are not needing the technology for charging their cars are parked there. This is akin to someone parking in a handicap spot and taking a spot away from individuals who do need that access and those rights. So this bill seeks to prevent people from parking unnecessarily and knowingly in an electric vehicle spot when they themselves are not driving an electric vehicle. It does impose a penalty for parking in that spot. And it also provides a provision for towing the vehicle should somebody park knowingly in an electric vehicle spot. And I ask you to consider the bill and consider passing it.
Thank you, Senator Hashmi. Questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Senator, we talked earlier about the verbiage on line 13. It says a vehicle not capable of receiving an electric charge in a parking space. I believe staff had offered an amendment that would actually make that a little clearer because, as we all know, when my car dies, I call Senator DeSteff and he brings his jumper cables and he gives my car an electric charge. So I think, does staff have language for that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, there is a definition of a plug-in electric hybrid vehicle in section 56-1, and so instead of referring to a vehicle that can take an electric charge, I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull the bill up. We could strike that and include that it would be a plug-in electric hybrid vehicle.
Mr. Chairman, I would offer that amendment.
Okay, we have a first and a second on offering that amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment is accepted.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Senator, I'm supportive of your bill. However, two things. One, this is not even clearly close to parking in a handicap spot, okay? I mean, it's not even
I
close.
apologize for
That's
that.
okay.
I understand, yes.
But the civil penalty of $500, I think, is pretty extreme on something like this. I guess I would ask staff what a similar penalty would be for other parking violations, such as parking in a handicap spot without a placard.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that's $250 fine.
Mr. Chairman, if the senator would concur, I would also make an amendment to reduce that penalty of $500 to $250.
I agree. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, we have a motion and a second on
Mr.
On that?
Chairman, can I speak to the motion?
Senator Eben.
Yeah, I just wanted to get clarification. If the disabled spots, is that up to 250 or 250? Straight up?
Mr. Chairman, we're looking that up.
Hold on one moment, Senator Eben.
Mr. Chairman.
Staff, please.
Mr. Chairman, the answer is in 46.2-1242. Parking a vehicle in a space reserved for persons with disabilities in violation of the code is punishable by a fine of not less than 100 and no more than 500. And localities may adopt ordinances that enforce a similar fine within that range. The governing body of the locality would need to say in the ordinance what the fine is for the violation.
Do we need to amend the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would amend my motion for an amendment to reflect that particular language in this bill. But I would actually, I take that back. The motion would be a fine of no less than 100, but no more than 250.
We have that motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that amended motion is before us. Questions for Senator Hashmi from the committee?
Move to report as amended.
Okay, let's hear from the gallery. Anyone here in favor of the bill? Anyone here opposed to the bill? All right, the bill is before us. Clerk, could you open we have a move to report and a second. Could you open the rolls?
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill passes. Thank you, Senator Hashmi. Good luck with your subcommittee. Okay. Now, here is what we're going to do. We have two competing versions of two bills that would allow for undocumented individuals here in the country to achieve either a driver's license or a privilege card to drive. They both accomplish the same thing on one level. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. And what we will do here is we'll start with Senator Boysko's bill, and that is, I believe, Senate Bill 643.
That's correct.
And we will hear Senator Boysko's bill, and once we've done that, we will take let's do 10 minutes for pros and cons to your bill, and then we'll hear Senator Servels do 10 minutes to hear pros and cons. Does that work for you?
I think we should just do 10 minutes on both,
Total.
but together.
Together? Well, I tell you what, we'll split the difference. We'll do 15 together. So we'll present both bills, and then we'll take people commenting on both versions. Does that work for the panel? All right, Senator Boysko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. SB 643. First, I have a substitute amendment in the nature of a substitute.
I have a motion to accept the substitute. All those in favor of accepting the substitute, say aye. Aye.
This
The
new,
substitute will shortly be before us. As we hand-
so, would you like me to explain it?
Just let them pass it out. Yes, Senator Boysko, could you
Certainly.
please explain your substitute to Senate Bill 643?
Yes, sir. So the amendment in the nature of the substitute, the new language includes some technical changes to the real ID language so that it's clear what's in a real ID. And it also adds a $5 re-examination fee for people who do not pass the knowledge test or behind-the-wheel test on the first try. And I will clarify that students who are doing behind-the-wheel at their school programs are exempt from this. So that's the amendment, the substitute.
Mr. Chairman?
Questions are in order for the,
Yes, sir.
for the substitute. Senator Spruill.
For a person who is not an immigrant, who take the test and fail the test for the first time, do they pay $5?
Mr. Chairman, yes, they would, and there is about a 50% failure rate currently with people who are.
I'm talking about the current law.
Yes, sir.
I'm not talking about the,
Sorry.
I'm talking about the current law right now for those who are not immigrants. If I went to take the test and failed it for the first time, I do not have to pay $5.
Mr. Chairman, he's correct.
So in that case, then, so if I got to pay $5, then why have they got to pay $5?
Mr. Chairman, this would be for everybody. There's a current 50% failure rate for the skills test, the driving test, currently with people who are applying for a driver's license, and this would help make the DMV be able to cover those costs because it's an addition to their staff.
Yes, Senator Spruill, if, as is the custom around here, if you're proposing something that will increase some costs, you have to propose a way to pay for it. And this would be paid for through a $5 fee on retesting that currently does not exist. Is that correct, Commissioner Holcomb?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Spruill, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner. Currently, if you're an adult, you have to pay a $2 retest fee on the second test. You don't pay on the first one unless you want to wait 15 days. If you can wait 15 days to be retested, we don't waive the fee. But as the Senator said, one of the reasons that the DMVs are as crowded as they is people are not studying for that knowledge test. Skills tests, we're only seeing about a 10% failure rate, but 50% of the people who walk into the DMV have not studied sufficiently to the point that they can pass the knowledge test. That's why with Real ID, we need something to help us get folks to focus on studying the test, and we're hoping that maybe a little bit of a fee would encourage them to study before they came back to take the test
Mr.
again.
Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
So my question is this for everybody, not just, you just not singling out one race, so people talk for everybody. Black, white, red, green, everybody, is that right?
Currently, the $2 test fee is for everyone.
I'm talking about the what she's proposing, the $5.
That would
that
be
for everybody,
Yes, sir.
including yourself? Thank you, Mayor.
Senator Bosco would study, and she would not fail the test, so I'm sure she would not have to pay for it. Right,
And,
Senator?
That's correct.
and well, very good. So the bill as the substitute is before us. Senator Boysko, tell us about your bill.
Yes, sir. I also have another amendment on top that I was hoping that we could put on top of that, which is
Okay.
privacy language.
We have
that-
an amendment to the substitute that's before us. Do we have a motion on that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of accepting the amendment to the substitute, say aye. Aye. Aye.
I want to know what it
Senator-
says.
Senator McClellan. No, Adam. Oh, excuse me. Senator Evan.
I just was wondering if we could have an explanation of what the amendment
Well,
is
yeah, that's
before we vote.
what we'll
Yes.
do.
Happy to do
Senator
that,
Boysko.
sir. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, the language will prohibit the bulk release of photographs to government entities, but will prevent government entities to receive photographs if they, one, provide an individual's name and other sufficient identifying information, two, provide proof that the photograph is needed to perform the law enforcement agency's function. Also, the language would prohibit the release of an application submitted to the department for a driving credential or a special ID card. Three, the language would prohibit the release of proof documents provided by a customer for the issuance of a driving credential or special ID card. Four, the language would prohibit the release of information to the department's records relating to proof documents provided to the department, including whether legal present documentation was provided to the department. So it's a privacy for all people who are getting a driver's license or a credential.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Senator Favola.
Just a question on the amendment. And maybe this is for Commissioner Holcomb. Are the privacy statements in this, I would say, enactment, in this clause, are they standard? Would these privacies be extended to anybody who has a license in your database?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Favola, the answer is yes.
Okay.
One of the concerns that we've got is as a result of Real ID, we are collecting a whole lot of information as required by the federal government. We copy your passport, your social security card, your driver's license, your proof of residencies, and we are storing that, again, because the federal government tells us we have to store that for 10 years. Our current code does not allow us to protect that from disclosure, and so that was one of the reasons we're bringing this language forward. So this language is much broader in protecting information that we're currently required to receive from customers.
And would apply across the board, which
Yes,
is my question. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So have we had the vote on the
On the
amendment? We had I'm sorry, who, is that Senator Steph?
I have a quick question on the amendment. So where it says no photograph may be released upon the request of federal, state, or local government entity, local government group, self-insurance pools, law enforcement officers, attorneys of the Commonwealth, court, or the authorized agent of any foregoing unless the requester provides an individual's name or significant identifying information contained in the individual's record. So now, I believe when a police officer pulls you over, they get a copy of your driver's license when they pull you over, correct?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Steph, yes, and this would not change anything on when police come in and ask for an individual record. What this says is you just can't go fishing and say, give me everyone's photograph of someone who presents a driver's license in the city of Richmond. Right now, our statute would require us to release that information, and this makes it a little bit more restrictive and to stop phishing accounts for folks.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one quick follow-up.
Senator Steph.
Commissioner. Commissioner, just one last question on this. Is my understanding is when you put them together that there is truly a bulk release for the state police, so it goes up into their system, or are they tying into DMV's online system? Because we're talking NCIC checks, we're talking.
Mr. Chairman, Senator DeSteph, it's the latter. When state police or any law enforcement entity access our records through vSend, they're getting the individual record out of our record. So it's not like state police says, give us your entire database so we can load it on our account. They're accessing up to our record, which will continue under this. It's just, someone can't come in and say, give me the information on give me pictures on everyone in your database.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Have we had the vote on this amendment? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment to the substitute, say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. We have one no. Senator Cosgrove. All right. Senator Boysko, please present your bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. SB 643 would expand access to a driver's license in Virginia. I have passed out, I should have passed out, if you'd pass those out to the members, now? Oh, they are? Okay. I've passed out pictures of driver's licenses and real IDs. As you can see, they are not federal identifying documents, but they would be a credential for you. I don't know if you all are aware that until January 1st, 2004, no one in Virginia was required to show legal presence in order to get a driver's license. According to the DMV, when the General Assembly made that change in Virginia's General Assembly, they grandfathered everyone who was holding a license at that time without asking to make certain that they were here under legal presence. And today, it is approximately 40% of the holders who
Mr.
still...
Chairman? Can I ask
Senator
a question?
Suderline.
Why was it done in 2004?
It was as a result of the terrorist concerns.
After 9/11?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Senator Boysko, go ahead.
Those licensees have never been asked to show legal presence. I'm simply asking that we go back to the long-held public policy prior to 2004, because now we have the option for a real ID. So if people want to make certain that they have a credential that shows their citizenship wherever they're from, they have that ability and can show they have legal presence. In this bill, this is a public safety bill. Drivers absolutely must pass the written and road test to obtain the license. Police will be able to identify motorists during traffic stops and check traffic records. Drivers will be more likely to stay at the scene of an accident to aid police and emergency workers and to exchange insurance information with affected motorists. And even, we look at our courts and jails, which are overburdened. Courts and jails will be significantly less burdened because drivers who are arrested solely for driving without a license will no longer, it will be greatly, greatly reduced. This bill has fiscal and economic benefits for our Commonwealth. More people will be properly trained and understand the rules of the road, which makes me happy. Insurance and premiums are expected to drop for all drivers. According to the Commonwealth Institute for Fiscal Analysis, car insurance cost could go down for everyone if there's increased road safety and decreases in the number of uninsured drivers. More specifically, the Commonwealth will benefit from revenues from the growth in sales tax, in licensing fees, and vehicular registrations as newly licensed drivers purchase, register, and maintain cars. We know that people are on the roads already. They're driving without these credentials. They're having their cars registered in other states, like in Maryland. This would make sure that they're here on the books with us. According to the Commonwealth Institutes, the revenue impacts of expanding driver's license access from the number of licenses issued due to the new proposed law, we expect indirect revenues from driver's license applications and the vehicles being titled and registration could be in the $10 million to $17 million range for Virginia. This is a bill that treats all Virginians with respect and dignity. In most communities, public transportation is not a viable option. And, people need to be able to go to church, to pick up their children, to get to the doctor's office, to care for a loved one during an emergency. We know that people need to be able to get out and about. I would also like to clarify that, once again, and you can see it on the card I provided for you, a driver's license, they do not provide identification for federal purpose nor for voting. The standard driver's license states federal limits apply. So you can see that chart. In fact, only real IDs provide access to federal facilities and airplanes. Already, neither the standard driver's license or real ID neither of those allow people to vote. There are currently people who qualify to get a real ID that are ineligible to vote, such as green card holders, people with felony convictions. They can get a driver's license. They can get a real ID. I argue that if we are to create a third type of driving ID, like a driver's privilege card, stigmatizes a community without providing any additional benefits to anyone. we would join 15 other states, plus Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, who have already paved a way with credentials for a more safe, attainable, and equitable driving experience by providing a driver's license or some form of driving ID to all communities. Fairfax County government fully supports this bill, as well as you see many advocates in this room. I have been working on this for 5 years, since the very first year I came to the body. This is very important to my community, but I know that I work closely with Senator Surville. I know we both have been advocating for this, and hope that it is the pleasure of the body to use the driver's license credential as we move forward, if the body so chooses.
Thank you, Senator Borska. One question.
Yes, sir.
If someone received this who was undocumented and not a citizen of the United States or the Commonwealth of Virginia and presented the federal limits apply regular driver's license in an attempt to vote or exercise some other thing, what would happen?
They would, well, we know it's a felony already for them to register to vote, but it would not be inadequate. You have to have something else to show your voter registration.
Your legal presence. Okay.
Mr.
Thank you
Chairman?
very much.
Chairman?
Senator Sproul.
Let me start off by saying thank you. Let me say thank you. And what I was getting at earlier, I just want to make sure that they're treated the same way as I. I want to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself when blacks had to go through certain things to vote or do anything else. I just want to make sure, and you have cleared it up for me. I just want to thank you for this, because I was really passionate and upset was that if a driver has a driver's license, nothing else. So why would they would have to have something different to drive if they pass the test and whatever qualifications you have to make? I was concerned because I knew about the $2, sir. I was concerned if they got to pay $5, why I don't have to pay $5. So I just want to thank you for that, because most of these young folks are young and I'm old school. And all I'm saying is this: I just want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly the same. Doesn't matter whether they black, red, white, or green. And whatever law applies for this young man, whatever law applies for me, it should apply for them. They should not be treated any different than what I am treated. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Sproul. Now, what we are going to do is to hear Senator Surville's version of driving for undocumented residents of the Commonwealth. And Senator Surville, your bill is Senate Bill 34, and I believe you have a substitute?
I do.
Okay, could we pass out the substitute? And do I have a motion on the substitute to get it before us?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the substitute being before us signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Opposed? Okay. Senator Cosgrove.
I would just like to compare the two substitutes. We can tell which one is a serval substitute just by a visual reference.
Senator Surville, while people are examining your document there, could you walk us through what your substitute does?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator DeStef.
I like to read every bill, and I'm known for doing that. We've got one substitute, 41 pages, another substitute, 91 pages. I'm only on page like 15. Maybe I'm a slow reader, but I'm only on page 15 of the first bill with questions. I mean, unless we're going to be here for a few hours, I'm not real comfortable voting on something before we have a chance to truly read it. And maybe I'm the only one in the committee. Maybe everybody else went to Evelyn Wood and his speed readers.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator DeStef, I don't believe there are many substantive changes to Senator Surville's bill, and if I could have staff report, perhaps.
I can explain it.
Or would you prefer to do that,
Yeah, can I
Senator
do it?
Surville?
I probably talk faster. So first of all, the substitute you have before you is basically the same bill you've seen for the last 3 years. The only substantive change is that we added provisions prohibiting DMV from releasing any information to anybody absent a court order. It's basically all the stuff that you just saw in her line amendment. but conformed to this bill. So it's basically the privacy restriction kind of stuff. And if you really want to read the a more specific site would probably be lines 1851 through lines 1866, I think is the bulk of it. I think there's a couple other places, though, throughout where it's kind of sprinkled around. But as I said, Mr. Chairman, I mean, that's basically the difference between the substitute and the bill as introduced.
Yeah, and Senator Serval, a judge of proper jurisdiction, if on a court order, could ask for some specific information off of that list, but in terms of anyone getting the list in its entirety,
Correct.
would be not possible, but it was still subject to a court order.
Correct. It has to be a court order, not just some letter from somebody or some, phone call. It has to be a court order. I would also just say to the committee that the bulk of this bill is really lines 1942 through 1965, and the rest of it is just conforming language to 1942 through 1965 sort of creates the driver privilege card, and the rest of the language in here is mostly just conforming other parts of the code to the fact that it would
Senator
exist.
Serval, go ahead, present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So basically, this is the genesis of this bill. I like Senator Boysko, have been carrying this bill now for 5 years. My first term in the Senate, I introduced it. She was in the House of Delegates. We were both carrying on either side. I've been working also with Delegate Rob Bloxham, who is also carrying this identical bill in the House right now. I believe it's already been reported at a committee over there. But in any event, I thought it did. Oh, okay. Well, it didn't report. Okay. But in any event, Delegate Bloxham is carrying it with me in the House. Now, this bill, what's different is it's a temporary one-year privilege card. It has a $100 filing fee for an initial card and a $50 renewal fee every year after that. And we can get into where the fees came from. But when I introduced this bill originally, it looked a lot different than this. The DMV put together a stakeholder group of about 40 people, which came up with this bill in the 2016 session. And it's basically remained mostly unchanged for 2016, 17, 18, and 19. And then we just made the changes I just described. So in order to get a temporary privilege card into this bill, you'd have to pay the $100. You'd have to show you've paid Virginia income taxes for 3 years. You would have to pass the driving test. And you'd have to prove you're a Virginia resident. Those are the three requirements.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask?
Senator Suderline.
As I'm reviewing the bill, the different parts there, can you tell us how it would look? It looks like in your bill, it would say not valid for, because I remember this from the previous years as you were talking about, it would say not valid identification for federal voting or public benefit purposes.
Correct.
And I remember in the past, I believe you gave us what it would look like. Do you
did.
have your version too?
I think staff, here, yeah, I have it right here. Right here. May I hand it up? We'll pass them out. No,
That's
but it's one you're about to get. It's this one at the top.
this
one at the top is yours.
Two versions of
Yeah.
the license. This is the Senator Serval's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr.
Can
Chairman?
we hold
Okay.
for 1 minute to let the members of the committee look at the document for just 1 minute?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator
I
Sproul.
have more to say.
Senator Surveyor,
Yes, sir.
the three things, you go over it again, just the last three things you just said about the $100 and what have you. You can go over it again?
The three things?
Yes, sir, you just
You have
got
to
to.
show you're paid Virginia taxes for 3 years. Pass the test. Show you're a resident.
Okay.
So
now,
you live in Virginia.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, wait a minute, let me
excuse me,
finish.
Senator Sproul.
So, if, would I have to do that for the first time I go take a test? Would I have to show that I live in Virginia?
Lionel Sproul?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you would.
Would I have to pay the $100?
You would have to pay, I think it's $10 or it's not 100. It's some number less than that.
All I'm trying to say, what you're saying, all I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to figure out why you are differentiating them from me.
Okay.
If you say to me the exact same thing that you said, that $100 show that I live in Virginia all my life, I take the driver's test. If you got to say, show a paper you live in Virginia, fine. If you say to whatever $100, fine. But you just got through saying for me, $10. So I'm trying to figure out, there you go again. This is just like B-poll tax for black folks. You got to pay a tax to show up to do this and that. All I'm trying to figure out, if they live in Virginia and they pass the test, what have you, I'm trying to figure out, why do they have to show all these things in order to get a drive license test?
Mr.
I
Chairman.
don't have to do it, and you don't have to do it. All I'm trying to say, we can't single out a race of folks, because that's what was done to my folks, and I don't want to have it done to them.
Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Servo.
First of all, and I'll finish explaining the bill in a second, but to answer your question, first thing I'll note is that not every undocumented person is not white. There are probably plenty of people or whatever. There's plenty of all kinds
They
of
were
people
white,
that are
you wouldn't be
undocumented.
doing this to them.
Well, first of all, Senator, let me just tell you, this bill I've carried now for 4 years, and everybody standing behind me supported it for 4 years. Okay? So this bill that I'm carrying is the exact same bill I've been carrying. It's the exact same bill that I spoke about when I stood on the steps of the Capitol 3 months ago with a lot of people in this room saying we were going to put this bill in. And so the only thing that's changed is that Real ID went into effect in the last 12 months and created another option. But there are 15 or 17 other states that have done this already. This bill isn't unique. It's not an unusual idea. And in terms of the fee we came up with at the recommendation of DMV to cover the fiscal impact of the additional employees that need to be hired to process these applications. And it was the fee recommended by the McAuliffe administration at the time the bill was initially drafted. So there's things that have changed in the last 4 months when Virginia decided to both have Real ID and regular ID. And that's new. That's different this year. Okay?
Senator Spruill, I might add that when you have two options here, certainly there'll be a preferred option and a secondary option. All of this, just to let everyone know, because there's fees and involved here in either bill, the vehicles here will have to go to the Finance and Appropriations Committee, who will make a final determination on the disposition of these bills, and we will, have a vote on what we're going to send to them and in what form it will be. But right now we have sort of a situation of a belt and a suspenders. There's two different ways of taking care of this particular problem, and either one or the other or both or neither will come out of the committee. And but if something comes out, it does need to go to the Finance and Appropriations Committee for final determination.
Mr. Chairman, can I finish explaining the bill?
Go ahead.
Thank you. And a couple other things I just want to point out. I am a chief co-sponsor of Senator Boysko's bill. I support her bill also. And I also want to note, with respect to the question that the senator from Roanoke County raised about why this happened, that what happened in 2001 could not happen today because you could not get on a plane without a Real ID. And so the risk for which we adopted that statute in 2004 doesn't exist anymore because you can't get on the airplane without a Real ID. In October. Fair point. So in any event, I'm going to give you 6 reasons why you need to do either one of our bills, really. Number one is that in every state that's adopted this, accidents have gone down because a lot of people are getting taught the rules of the road, and they learn what the signs mean, what the lane markings mean, when they're supposed to stop, not stop, when school buses go, and all that kind of stuff we have to learn when we take a driving test. Number two, you have many fewer hit-and-run accidents where this happens because when people have government ID, they don't feel the need to leave the scene of the collision, and that improves not only accidents being covered by insurance, which is better for everybody, it helps avoid criminal charges and lots of headaches when people stop. Number three, it will lower Virginia insurance premiums because people will title their cars in Virginia instead of other states. In Northern Virginia right now, a lot of people title their cars in Maryland, or they go to Maryland to get one of the Maryland IDs, which, Senator Spruill, you don't like because it treats them different, which is how Maryland does it. But in any event, a lot of people right now go to Maryland, get a Maryland ID, they title their car in Maryland. This will get us more Virginia auto insurance premiums, more Virginia car title registration fees, more Virginia licensing fees. It'll bring these folks into Virginia with their money they're spending. Number four, people with ID are much more likely to call law enforcement when a problem happens. Whether it's domestic violence, where they see another crime, they're much more likely to report themselves, ID themselves as a witness, and participate in criminal prosecution. Number five, you're going to see more tax revenue. Number six, these people just deserve to have a regular quality of life. They deserve to be able to go to the doctor. They deserve to be able to drive to work every day and not have fear of being stopped and arrested. These folks deserve to be able to take their child to the doctor and not have to worry about getting arrested for it. It's just the right thing to do. And I still support my bill, and I also support my good friend Senator Boysko's bill. But I believe that the committee or the Senate actually needs to make a policy choice as to which way they want to go with this. That's where I come out.
And Senator Servelt, just to be clear, what we are doing with this bill is working to make the lives of those living here in Virginia more reasonable, easy to do for the sake of children and getting to appointments and doing whatever. What the federal government does is what the federal government does. The Commonwealth of Virginia is not the federal government, and this does not really protect or provide any argument for anything other than that the federal government might be concerned about. These are just two very, very separate matters. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to respond. Senator Cosgrove pointed out the fact that Real ID, maybe he has a concern perhaps about people with driver's licenses before the enactment of October of next year. This bill would not go into effect until January of 2021 to address that, so that there would be no overlap, so that there would be no way that all entry into a federal building or airplane would have to have a Real ID on October 1st. We have put an enactment date on my bill to January 1st, 2021 to address that so that there's no confusion. And
Mr. Chairman.
Senator
just
Cosgrove.
wanted to
I'd say to the senator, yeah, I know about Real ID. I have a company with 150 employees, and they're all having to get Real ID, so I know when it takes effect. I was making a clarification point.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify with you so that, Mr. Chairman, so that there was no misunderstanding that somehow we would be giving these credentials out before that time.
And if your bill proceeds to the Finance Committee,
Yes, sir.
My understanding is that the federal government may be offering an extension on Real ID. Have you heard that, Senator Cosgrove? Senator Favola has that. So there may be, but we may need to make sure that the driver's license aspect, if that is what goes over, will have to be tied to when Real ID goes into effect, because the federal government could change that date. That's my understanding.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
I think
Evans.
that's reasonable.
Yeah, I want to thank the patrons for bringing this forward. I had brought this forward in 2005 and 2006. I didn't stick with it, and we had people from both parties at that time. And I just want to outline people in my district. There's an organization called Tenants and Workers United, some of whom are, oh good, they are here, are behind you. And in a community named Chirlagua, I went to see them in December or November. This was the number one priority for people. They just want to get to work. I think Senator Boysko's approach is the simplest, and that all I really want to see is that people show they're a resident and they pass a road test. I just want it to be road competence and less confusing, and I think that you're offering that, and I thank you both for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Senator Eben. All right. Now, we want to hear from those who are in favor. We're going to do this all in 15 minutes. I'm going to ask them to start the timer, and we're going to start with, you can speak in favor of either approach, and then we will at a point we will stop and take any opposition to either of the bills. And so we'll try to keep it here to about 10 minutes, and then we'll have 5 for the opposition, because I think that's probably the way it's going to go. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Sir, could you state your name and tell us why you support the bill, but be very, very succinct. There are people behind you who want to talk, and so make it as quick as you can. And anyone else in the line, don't repeat what's been said in front of you. If you have something new to say that is different, please say that. And if you don't have anything new to say, just tell us your name and that you're in support of the bill. Okay? Do we understand the ground rules? Begin the clock. Sir, please introduce yourself.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre,
Good evening.
señores miembros del comité. Mi nombre es Pedro.
Good evening, committee members. My name is Pedro.
Vivo en Virginia hace 20 años.
I've been living in Virginia for 20 years.
Por muchos años he caminado larga distancia
For many,
para tomar un bus y poder ir a trabajar.
for many years, I walked long distances so that I could take a bus and get to work.
Soporté frío, nieve, lluvia, calor. Me enfermé, pero
I had to deal with cold, snow, rain, the heat. I got sick.
Pero como necesito trabajar, manejo sin licencia y tengo mucho miedo cuando voy.
But since I need to work, I have to drive without a license, and I get very scared.
Y un policía que venga atrás de mí me da temor.
So I get very scared. If a police officer is behind me, I get terrified.
Hoy les pido apoyen a gente para trabajar, para la gente trabajadora como yo y nos den licencia.
Today, I ask you that you support working people like myself and get past driver's licenses
Para manejar sin miedo.
to be able
Okay.
to drive without fear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next. Thank you. Tell us, introduce yourself and
Buenas tardes, me llamo María Martínez.
Good evening. My name is Maria Martinez.
Soy afiliada de la 32BJ y el ACIU y vivo en Fallsville.
I'm a 32BJ member and I live in Falls Church.
He vivido en los Estados Unidos por 20 años,
I've been living in the United States for 20 years,
pero sigo sin poder sacar un carnet de conducir,
but I still can't get a driver's license
porque no puedo conducir legalmente.
because I can't drive legally.
Solo puedo trabajar un trabajo a tiempo parcial,
I can only work
limpiando
a
oficinas por la noche.
part-time job cleaning office buildings in the evening.
No puedo trabajar durante el día porque me tomaría 3 horas para llegar en la mañana en transporte público.
I can't work during the day because it would take me 3 hours to get to work by public transportation.
En consecuencia, apenas puedo sobrevivir.
As a result, I'm barely surviving.
Solo puedo pagar una cuarta parte de mi alquiler
I can only afford to pay a quarter of my rent,
y tengo que compartir piso con 5 desconocidos.
so I have to share an apartment with 5 strangers.
Estoy muy endeudada porque he tenido que pedir ambulancia
I'm deep in debt because I've had to take ambulances
2 veces para mi hijo.
twice for my son.
La ambulancia me costaron casi $3,000
The ambulances have cost me almost
y
$3,000,
las facturas aún las tengo en colección.
and these $3,000 bills are now in
Si
collection.
hubiera tenido un carnet de conducir, no estaría debiendo ese dinero,
I wouldn't owe this money if I had a driver's license
porque podría haber conducido a mi hijo al hospital.
oh,
because
okay.
I would have been able to drive my son to the hospital.
Okay. I think we've got that. Let's save some time for people behind you. But thank you very much for appearing today and telling us your situation. Thank you. Next.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Nayeli Montes Carrillo. I've been living in Virginia almost for 13 years. In 2014, I was 8 weeks pregnant, and I was alone at home. My husband was at work, and we was dependent on somebody else to take us to work or do whatever we need. I started with a strong pain in my belly, and I had to call so many people to take me to the hospital. After several minutes, I found somebody who can take me, but that person could get there to 2 hours. After 3 hours and a half, when I got to the hospital, the doctors can't do nothing, and I lost the baby. Like me, it's several people that happened the same or something worse. So I know if we have the driver license, maybe the things will be different.
Okay. So you preferred Senator Boysko's driver's license versus the privilege card.
Yeah, because I believe that gonna help the wives who stay at home, because at that time I don't have proof to say that I'm working and I'm gonna be available to drive. So that's why I asked
Okay.
you to support the ASB 643.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Hi, my name is Duke Trung, and I'm here on behalf of Spanish Connection and the Hispanic Center of Chesterfield. We are a multi-services company that cater to the Hispanic community, and one of the things that we do is sell insurance. And the two patrons are right in terms of the insurance premiums will go down. I quoted myself, and I have a driver's license, and I quoted myself with a license and without a license. With a valid driver's license, the quote was $2,159. $2,159. Without a driver's license, it came out to $3,077. So that's a $918 difference. And to me, that's a huge difference, especially for those who are trying to work and who can't afford this. I think that a driver's license will benefit everyone because it will decrease the insurance premiums. It will make it more affordable and more people will keep it. The other thing is that in terms of quoting for insurance, we only take a driver's license. We don't do permits or we don't do driver privileges cards and things like that.
But although you don't do that, it does not preclude insurance from being issued to someone with a privilege card. Is that correct?
If that does, we don't take that into consideration. It's either you have a driver's license or you don't have a driver's license.
Okay. Because
So
I have checked with some insurance authorities down here, and you can get insurance with the privilege card. I do not have any information on the difference in cost.
well, you can get insurance without a driver's license.
Okay. Thank you.
But we don't take that into consideration for quotes for a driver privilege cards.
Thank you very much. That's unique and helpful information. Next, please, in line. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, dear Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Rudy Gomez. I'm from the Eastern Shore of Virginia. In 2013, I met all of the requirements to become a DACA recipient. I was finally able to obtain a driver's license. My driver's license gave me a chance to legally drive. It also gave me a sense of responsibility and become a more productive resident and provide for my local community. I felt this was when I was in my community, I felt there was a need for more transportation. As I realized, compared to the city, my rural area didn't have as many options. From this necessity, in July of 2015, I started a small transportation business. Rudy's Taxi Cab now services the Eastern Shore with taxi fares, airport shuttles, and medical transportation. I feel successful about my business, and I feel great to contribute to my local economy and to the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of this is possible because I'm now documented and able to drive. Unlike myself, many undocumented families are forced to drive without a license. They have to get to work, take their kids to the doctor's appointment. When driving without a driver's license, you are constantly in fear of getting pulled over, having to go to court, being fined, taken to jail, and getting deported and not see your loved ones again. As a Hispanic and once undocumented from the beautiful Eastern Shore of Virginia, already contributing to the economy, I can see a great potential for the driver's license for all that would do for my community and the Commonwealth. A driver's license for all would unlock a potential for other entrepreneurs and start and grow their businesses. It would make a safer and more competitive Virginia. I'm a member of CASA and I support the Senate Bill 643. Thank you for your time, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, and I think we'll have time for just one more, and then we're going to take opposition, and then I'm going to let people in the audience express which one they're here in support of.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Nori Soto
Good evening. My name is Nori Soto.
y soy miembro de la nueva mayoría de Virginia.
I'm a member of New Virginia Majority.
Vivo en el área de Chesterfield
I live in Chesterfield,
y he sufrido discriminación por no tener una licencia de conducir.
and I've suffered discrimination because I haven't had driver's licenses.
He vivido en este maravilloso país por alrededor de 20 años y soy madre soltera,
I've lived in this lovely country for almost 20 years, and I'm a single mother,
luchando y trabajando duro para salir adelante ganando el salario mínimo.
working hard, earning only the minimum wage.
He sufrido varios incidentes por no tener una licencia de conducir
I've suffered lots of incidents because I didn't have driver's licenses.
y no tener una licencia ha sido un gran inconveniente para mí.
Not having licenses has really hurt me.
He estado en varios accidentes en los cuales no ha sido mi culpa
I've been in accidents, car accidents that it was not my fault,
y por no tener una licencia de conducir he tenido que ir a corte,
but because I didn't have license, I had to go to court,
perder un día de trabajo,
lose a day of work,
gastado mucho dinero en abogados,
spent a lot of money in lawyers' fees,
pagar asistencia médica.
paying for medical help.
Soy cristiana y madre soltera
I'm a Christian single mother,
y me veo obligada a hacer algo ilegal todos los días porque tengo que manejar para trabajar y dar soporte a mi familia.
and I'm forced to do something illegal every day just to support my family.
Estoy representando aquí a miles de mujeres que, como yo, trabajan duro para sacar adelante a sus familias como madres solteras.
I'm representing thousands of women who are supporting their families.
Solo la semana pasada pagué $2,000 en gasto de
Just
abogado,
last week, I spent
corte
$2,000
y ticket.
in court fees, legal fees, and tickets.
Great.
Le
Well,
pido en el nombre de Jesús que
okay,
por favor nos ayude.
thank you
Please,
very
in the
much.
name of Jesus,
Okay,
help us.
now we're going to hear from those in opposition to both of these bills. But first, at this point in time, on those who are here in support, we'll start out with all those here in support of Senator Boysko's Senate Bill, I believe 643. If you are in support of that bill, please stand. Okay, thank you very much. All those here who are in support, okay, please have a seat. Thank you. All those who are here in support of Senator Surville's Senate Bill 34, please rise. Okay, we have someone. We have two people have joined Senator Surville. Huh?
Senator Boysko.
Well, you know, we'll get to that in just a moment. But I see that there's overwhelming support here for the driver's license version of the bill. Now, we'd like to hear from those who are in opposition to one or both of these efforts to provide a driving status to undocumented immigrants. Is there anyone here in opposition to either of the bills, or would like to comment on something?
Mr. Trump, they just stood up. You can see.
Yes, ma'am. All right, ma'am. You.
Well, they say no. Oh, no opposition. We are in favor of both bills. The whole community.
So you are one or the other. Okay.
We're using this time to say yes.
There we are. All right. Now we're. Do we have any further questions from the committee members? All right. Here's what we're. Yeah.
I have a motion.
Okay.
Yeah. So, members of the committee, Mr. Chairman, thank you for hearing these bills. I think you can see that there is very strong passion amongst the community. This has been identified as the number one priority for a number of organizations that are throughout the Commonwealth, from the interfaith community to the immigrant community, people who are concerned about safety. This is a common sense proposal. It's going to make us safer on the roads. It's going to be better for our economy. And I strongly urge you to support the full driver's license. Since we have a real ID, I do not see a reason to have a third level of driving credential. And it is my wish and hope that you all will take the language of the driver's license for all.
Okay, Senator Surville.
Mr. Chairman, I would just, number one, echo everything that Senator Boysko just said to you. I just wanted to clarify one thing. I checked in with Mr. Legault, who's with the insurance companies, and he indicated that if we did do a temporary privilege card, there would be no problem insuring anybody. So I'm not clear where that is coming from. But beyond that, I second everything that Senator Boysko said. I think it was in 2014, I had a town hall in my district where I asked the entirely Latino crowd in the room what their number one priority was for the Virginia legislature, and it was driver's licenses. And so this is a huge priority for a huge part of the Commonwealth. And having said that, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion that Senator Boyce
Senator Surville, could we suspend for just a moment? Senator McPike brought up a very important point as to which way this should go in terms of the anticipated motion that you have, based on the single object rule. Senator McPike.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was some discussion of potentially rolling in Senator Boysko's language and bill into Senator Sherville's. However, I think it would run into the single object rule and therefore would move that Senator Sherville be moved into Senator Boysko's bill and be named co-chief patron with Senator Boysko's language moving forward.
I don't agree with that. We need to have a conversation about it.
Mr. Chairman.
One moment, Senator Favola. I think could you, Lisa, could you address Senator McPike's concern about the single object rule here?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think there would be an issue because while they're
not.
titled slightly differently, that one is driver's privilege cards and one is driver's license, they're dealing generally with the same underlying topic of who can obtain some sort of driver privilege. I mean, I don't want to use that word again. Some sort of credential that would allow them to drive a vehicle. And so I don't think that there would be a germaneness issue or a one object issue.
Would anyone on the committee have a comment on that particular
Yes,
matter?
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Just a moment.
Mr.
Anyone?
Chairman, So my
commenting?
question, what you sent to my question is, I favor the driver license versus the driver's privilege. So are they the?
I'm trying to take care of you. I'm trying to take care of you. If I can make a motion.
And Senator Favola had a question first.
Well,
Senator Favola.
I was just going to say, I think we should make it clean and understandable. And in other committees, when we've had this situation, if we agreed more with the content of one bill, we just had the other patron roll into the bill that we were most comfortable with.
Yep.
Is that where you're heading, Senator
No,
Servo?
it's not. And me and Senator Boysko have discussed this along with the chairman, and we had an idea of what we wanted to do, and we were all in agreement with that. And there may be some new ideas that have occurred in the committee since we started this presentation, but I thought we were all in agreement about what I was about to do.
It is. We just wanted to clear up this single object rule matter.
Which I don't think is an
Yeah,
issue.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I wasn't privy to the conversation, but it is certainly the, I think, general intent of many of us on this committee to support the driver's license.
But that's what I was about to do.
Okay,
All
very
right.
good.
Senator Sherville, you have a motion.
Right. I would like to move to incorporate Senator Boysko's bill into my bill, and I would like to take Senator Boysko's substitute as amended and substitute that for my legislation.
Okay, so that is essentially what this would mean is that as the bill would go to Finance and Appropriations, it would be your bill, but Senator Boysko's would be a substitute for your bill. So the first thing debated and voted on in the Finance Committee would be whether to accept the substitute, which is the driver's license, versus the primary vehicle here, which is the driver privilege card. If they rejected the substitute, then your bill of the driver privilege card would be before the Finance and Appropriations Committee, and that would then become the bill that they voted on. Is that correct?
Right, or on the floor of the Senate, right.
Or on the floor of the Senate if they sent it in that direction. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second question, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Suderline.
So what would happen then is the position that would be advanced today, instead of the proposal that says not valid for identification for federal voting or public benefits purposes, that language would be gone.
Correct. You'd have the ID that
Just
Senator
says
Boysko handed.
federal limits apply.
Right.
So
Senator Suderline, what would then happen if they rejected in Finance, rejected the substitute, then Senator Serville's driver
the
privilege
underlying.
card would become the vehicle, and
But what's being advanced today would be removing those
Yes.
prescriptions that have been
Yes, sir.
advocated the last
Yes,
4 years.
yes,
Correct.
He is correct. That is what's being advanced.
Senator Favola.
I'm sorry, Senator Suderline is correct. We are making a policy call today, and that decision, I hope, will be to advance the driver's license card. The strategy you're talking about is sort of a double protection. if in fact the committee does not accept the driver's license, the fallback will be the privilege card.
Right.
And the finance committee will be making the final decision,
Or the Senate will.
or this, if it gets out of finance. But, so that's just so for clarity, so everybody to understand. Did you make a motion, Senator Servo?
We'll be able to have that.
And it's seconded, okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
motion.
Senator Cosgrove.
John?
Okay, excuse me, Senator DeStefano.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple of questions. Sorry. I have a couple of questions. And part of it is I really don't understand some of the processes here, too. So, Senator Boysko, on your, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Senator Boysko, on your bill on line 28, it says if the applicant has not been issued a Social Security number or individual taxpayer identification number, he shall certify that such number has not been issued. How is that certified? And then how is that used? Because I understand that you need a Social Security number, a taxpayer identification number to get the driver's license as one of many different IDs. And then how is that certified? And is that now included, or how is that included or excluded in the different documents that you need for your driver's license?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. So it's a crime to file a false document already. It's a felony. But the requirements on this, you have to have 2 proofs of residency that would show your address or some other form of identification.
And if you could please,
And-
Mr.
and
Chairman,
the
if I
DMV
could explain
commissioner is
exactly
gonna
what
come.
those could be or what's
Yep.
acceptable or not.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Commissioner.
Chairman, Senator DeStefano, and I have Sharon Brown, who's my Director of Driver Services. But to answer your original question, right now, to get a regular license, if you want a real ID, you have to produce a Social Security card. If you've never been issued a Social Security card, and there are some religious groups that don't want a Social Security card, you can get a standard license by making that certification. So we're not inventing a new process for this group of customers. That is already what we currently do for someone who has never been issued a Social Security number.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, but they
Senator
still have
DeStefano.
a TIN, correct? Taxpayer identification number.
Again, if you have to get a real ID currently, you have to have a Social Security. If you have a tax identification number, you can get a regular standard driver's license now. If you have neither one of those, that's when you make the certification.
Okay, and then, Mr. Chairman, if I may just follow up.
Senator DeStefano.
So if I don't have a Social Security number, if I don't have a TIN, then I'm not sure how I'm going to show I'm paying taxes. But if I don't have either of those, how do I certify that I don't have anything? And I guess that's where I'm kind of confused.
Hi.
Is there a separate form that says, hey, I don't have a TIN, I don't have this, but I'm still paying taxes?
So, Mr. Chairman, Sharon Brown, Department of Motor Vehicles. The ITIN is what would be needed. You would have an ITIN if you're paying taxes, that's correct, for the driver privilege card. So in today's world, you either have a Social Security number that's been issued to you, or in this new bill, you have an ITN that has been issued to you. And what we're asking is that the applicant present that information to us, but there are people who have not been issued either of those. And this certification, which would be likely on the application, would allow the person that's never been issued either of those to get the driver's license proposed by Senator Boysko's bill.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up, so if they don't
Senator
have
DeStefano.
if they don't have a Social Security number, or they don't have an TIN, ITIN, how are they certifying that I'm paying taxes and I don't have a TIN and I don't have a Social Security number? Then how are they paying taxes? I'm having a hard time trying to get to logically, how are you paying taxes if you don't have it? How do they know it's you
Mr.
paying
Chairman,
taxes?
I would just say, first of all, under Senator Boysko's bill, there is no requirement to show you pay taxes. You're not required to show you're paying taxes to get a Virginia driver's license.
Yep. No one has to do that at this point in time. But on the privilege card, Senator Servo?
Yeah. I mean, on the privilege card, you have to, but, I mean, I guess if the senator favors that version.
I do. I actually like that one.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Mr.
But
Chairman, Senator
there are
Servo.
provisions in my bill about how the payment of taxes are verified, authorizing DMV or Department of Taxation to communicate with DMV to confirm things, but.
Okay. So Any other questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, the motion is pending, is it not?
I believe it is, and so that
Mr. Chairman, I had one last question.
Senator
Chairman, you have a motion on the floor. He can ask questions all day long.
Well, I understand, but this is a complicated issue, Senator Spruill, and I think we can.
And I promise this will be my last question. Senator Boysko, you said that your bill is a public safety bill. Which public safety organizations have you been coordinating this with? Which police department, which agencies, which organizations have you been coordinating your bill on for this specific bill, Senate Bill 643, and are they here today to say, yes, we're in support of it, it is a public safety bill?
So, Senator Marsden, Mr. Chairman, Fairfax County government supports this bill. It's on their legislative agenda. They have to consult with their entire board and make sure that the policy is correct. They have a police department. I will also point out that in the 2016 study that Senator Serval and I provided, our legislation was based on, the study was based on our legislation. The police were at the table, as well as the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Association as well.
Senator Boysko, would you?
And I have Fairfax County government representative here today.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, are they law enforcement or are they?
Senator
trying to make
DeStef
sure we
is that this is the policy of the county, which I am, the police department has, been consulted as are all relevant agencies. So I think the county speaks as one, including their police department. That might be a different situation where there's an elected sheriff. But in this particular case, the policy is the policy. And would you say, Senator Boysko, that probably Fairfax County has the largest population of undocumented Virginians at this time? So we are speaking of a relevant jurisdiction.
Correct.
Because of certainly their size and the makeup of their population, and the fact that the county speaks as one, which we're familiar with. Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, having served in local government and done many legislative packages, anybody that served in local government knows when the local government says, we want this, the chief of police, who is basically an employee of that city government, is going to go, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, 3 bags full. So to say that the county government speaks for all public safety is in itself just unbelievable.
Well, they do speak with one voice, Senator Cosgrove, because that's the the way things are in government. So we have a motion before us, and could we spent a little time on this? Could staff reiterate exactly what the motion is, or Senator Serval, could you repeat it?
I move that Senator Boysko's bill be incorporated into mine, and that the substance of her bill be substituted for my bill.
Okay, so your bill will become a substitute for Senator Boysko's bill, and in that way, one or the other.
Mr. Chairman, before
Senator
we vote,
Cosgrove.
I see we have public safety in the back of the room. Can I get Wayne Hudgens to come up here and say that he's been coordinated? Because this says we've coordinated with public safety, and this is a public safety bill. I've not had one law enforcement individual. I've not had anyone representing public safety.
Senator
that says
DeStef, I would not want to put Mr. Huggins on the spot here, because he is representing an association, not a law enforcement agency directly, and I don't know that he would be speaking for law enforcement, although no one in this Commonwealth have greater respect for in the law enforcement agencies. But Wayne, you can certainly choose to decline that offer based on your unique status in law enforcement matters in the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not speak for the Department of State Police. I don't know if they've been consulted. I don't know if they have a position on the bill. The State Police Association has no position on this bill.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And at this point in time, we have the
Mr. Chairman, I call the pending question.
Senator Favola calls the pending question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pending question is before us. Could we open the rolls?
Voice vote.
Oh, excuse me, this is
On the
voice vote on this,
substitute.
on
On the
that?
substitute.
Okay.
Voice vote.
Okay. All in favor
It's a voice vote on this.
on the substitute, and then there's
Oh,
a
you're right.
a
Motion
roll call
incorporates
vote.
recorded. Motion
Chairman,
incorporates
point of
recorded.
order.
Yeah.
You're
Time
the
out.
chairman.
Time out.
You're the chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Yeah.
What we will do, we have a motion, before us to accept the motion of Senator Servell. It's a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Motion incorporated is recorded.
Oh, it's a recorded vote,
Yeah.
excuse me. Okay. Open the rolls. All in favor of incorporating Senator Servell's into
Voice go into Servell.
voice goes into Centerville's, please say aye. Opposed, nay.
On the board.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7. The bill, the motion is accepted.
Mr. Chairman, I move
We have
to
a motion to.
report and re-refer to finance.
The
Second.
motion
Second.
now is to report and refer to finance.
That's also.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor of that, please signify by saying aye on the voting machine, nay if you're opposed.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, nays 7. The bill reports to finance as amended. Thank you.
Good job.
All right. We will suspend for about 2 minutes to allow the room to clear, and then we'll proceed with our business. Could you notify Senator McDougal? He's next on the list. Thank you. Oh, sure.
Well, we're waiting to get our next patron. Do you want to handle Bryce's bill? It's just a corporal abbreviation.
Sure. Go ahead. I will. I just got to wait till the noise dies down.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
761.
So should we strike it? Roll it. Let's. Yeah. Do you think it's rollable? I mean, is it relevant enough? Okay. We will. What is his number?
Well, I guess about
Roll into service.
had a chance to ask these questions for 5 years, counting.
Bryce Reeves has a very simple bill we can probably take up till McDougal gets here. Okay, you can do Bryce's bill? What is it?
It's a bridge. It's a bridge name.
Bridge name? Can you speak to it? And then iambic pentameter? Okay.
Just like Bryce.
Okay. Tell them I appreciate. I have work to do. Sure. That'd be fine. That'd be fine. Okay. McDougal's here. We can. Are you the Lone Ranger?
He was on the sign-up list first draft for that bill. He's here now. He's in the room. He's just over there.
This is becoming like local government.
Thank you for your leadership on that.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I do government affairs for Nexus.
Uh-huh.
We do a lot of immigration work, and it's much needed.
Yeah. And it is, one of the two will get out of finance. We'll find out. So
It's a win for everybody.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. And it is a question. Thank you now. Those of you who may be new to this process, although some of our members are off at other committees and they have left what's called a proxy, so that I would assume that a number of people will be voting for their friends and neighbors up here on the committee. But we next have, so we can get him back to criminal sub, we have Senator McDougal. Senator McDougal, what would you like to take first?
Mr. Chairman, if we could do 1011, because I have a constituent, one of my county attorneys.
All right. Senate Bill 1011 is before us. Is there any substitute or amendments that need to be?
Mr. Chairman, I think we do have a substitute, Lisa. Mr. Chairman, I don't think my microphone. We can hear you. Even though I've never been accused of being quiet. But, Mr. Chairman, I did learn today, even at my spry age of less than 50, even though Reagan says that I'm old, I'm not really geriatric yet.
Yeah, well, trust me, Senator McDougal, being one who is geriatric and recognizing the fact that Reagan McDougal is the most powerful woman in the Commonwealth of Virginia in terms of her influence on this body, I would ask that you that we have a motion on the substitute that's before us. We have a motion and a substitute to accept, or a motion and a second to accept the substitute. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Senate Bill, the substitute for Senate Bill 1011 is before us. Senator McDougal.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be brief, and again, I have my county attorney here. The issue came up, and I'm going to give you two brief examples. In jurisdiction in Hanover, where I live, there is some growth and development, And on multiple occasions, as that development has proceeded, there have been things like, for example, a traffic signal, but there'll be multiple turn lanes. As that development is built out, it's not done instantaneous, and VDOT will not approve all the turn lanes at the same time because it does not meet the density levels to go through a traffic signal. Second example, we have an area that multiple entities have wanted, it's a business developed area, but multiple entities want to locate, partly because of the size of some of the vehicles like cranes. They need a stoplight to be able to turn out onto the road, but it doesn't meet some of the engineering until the entities were there, demonstrated the volume, and created the issue. What we're trying to do is give some discretion for things that would ultimately be approved if the density was there, the developers are building it, or the county is building it, as opposed to having the developer or county build that, have to shut it off through markings or cones or some sort of put extra pavement down and then have to come back and rip it up in a year, but allow the local resident administrator to be able to take that into the system at the same time they're taking the rest of the development.
And Senator McDougal, you're saying that VDOT by either code or practice cannot accept that because of the density of the planning area?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm saying that when you look at particularly a traffic light or turn signals, there has to be a certain amount of volume that VDOT registers in order for it to meet their approved regulations. So if you have a 100-home subdivision, when the first 5 houses are in that subdivision, you do not meet that density level. When that subdivision is fully built out and all 100 residents are in, you meet it. But it doesn't make any sense to build one of the turn lanes and then come back in 2 years and build the other ones. The developer will build all of it at the same time, or the locality will build it all at the same time, but they'll have to cordon off or somehow prevent the public from using a part of that because it's not approved by VDOT until the density is reached. And so what we're trying to do is eliminate those problems. When there's already going to be development that's approved, the developer in particular is paying for it, let's go ahead and put that into operation. We're trying to make a common sense one. We took a stab at the language. The AG's office came back with some additional language, and that's what you see here before what the Attorney General's office and my county attorney went through. I don't know that VDOT still loves it in all candor, but I think the committee understands what problem we're trying to solve.
Because Senator McDougal, so that in the example you gave, it would be a situation where that double turn lane might by regulation or by policy have to run a little longer or shorter than some other.
Well, Mr. Chairman, specifically, one of the examples that our county administrator gave us was VDOT said instead of doing the second lane, you could put a raised area of pavement or cement on that lane so it could not be used. And then when the warrants were eligible, when you met the number, you could come back and rip that raised area of pavement or cement up, which makes cognitively no sense whatsoever. And so that's what we're trying to address.
Gotcha. Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, if you could hear briefly maybe from my attorney.
Certainly.
Dennis.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. Dennis Walter, Hanover County Attorney. We appreciate Senator McDougal's support. We are in support of the amendment in nature of a substitute. As he pointed out, we're really looking for some increased flexibility. We are not asking that any VDOT standards or federal standards that local folks could violate those or not comply with them. We have situations where, I'm going to use a somewhat simple example. So if A, B, or C triggers a requirement, but if the district requires C, whether or not A or B are present, we have some lack of flexibility. We may be able to appeal that up to the district level. We may be able to appeal that up to the commissioner level, but that takes time. And ultimately, it's still a VDOT standard. We're not looking to violate any approved
So this is a statewide, this would have implications statewide.
Yes, it would. Right now, the situation is some of the districts interpret the same regulations a little different. So Hanover's in the Richmond area, our neighbors to the North Caroline are in the Fredericksburg one. The standards, even though the criteria are the same, the way that those are applied are a little different, and we're just looking for some flexibility here.
Okay, great, great. Well, the very knowledgeable Joanne Maxwell is in the back. If you could.
Who's Hanover resident?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Cosgrove.
I would just like to point out kind of a correlation. She is to us what Steve Benjamin is to you.
She is a Hanover resident, so I know that even though she's been directed to do otherwise, she's going to really love this bill.
And I'll tell you, Mr. Chairman, that we don't pay much attention to Mr. Benjamin on courts.
My recollection, Senator Obenshain, is that you don't pay any attention to anybody on courts.
Please don't tell him, Senator Lucas.
All right, Joanne, could you give us the department's position on this?
Mr. Chair, I'm flattered and honored, and I'd like to now recuse myself. I can say that VDOT, we had an opposed position to the original bill. The substitute is different, so I can't say that we have a position officially on this bill, but I do still see some of the same concerns that we have. First of all, is this legislation would potentially have a non-engineer making exceptions to design or standards, engineering design standards.
The bill talks about a residency engineer. Do we have a definition for that in the code, what a residency engineer is?
In Mr. Chair, in essence, it's more a position in the agency. It's a person that's in charge of a VDOT residency office. In this case, sometimes they're resident engineers, sometimes they are not engineers, they're administrators. So the way the bill reads right now, it would say a residency engineer of the department, or in the event that the residency does not have a residency engineer, the unlicensed residency administrator.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that portion that, again, is giving us the same concern that we'd seen with the prior version, which was you'd have potentially an unlicensed person making engineering decisions, and that would be fly afoul of the law, run afoul of the law. That's the first issue. The second issue is, as Senator McDougall noted, there are situations, a lot of these development projects are taken on a case-by-case basis. There are standards that apply. There are occasions when exceptions can be applied. Generally, though, when we get to the point where there are exceptions being applied, if a locality or not applied, if a locality doesn't agree, we have a process where that can be basically escalated up through the district administrator, up through the central office, and ultimately to the department's chief engineer. There's a reason for that, and again, many of these standards are critical and important. They can tie into safety, they can tie into quality of the roadway, et cetera. So that's why we have concerns with this legislation. We're concerned this would create a lot of non-uniformity or the potential for inconsistency among the districts or amongst even the residencies.
Okay, so in the particular case of Hanover County, do they have a specific case that brought this to mind, and did VDOT just say no? Because they haven't taken a position on this, they've left the door open for us to take action today, even though they have concerns. What was the incident that brought this to us today?
Mr. Chairman, the ones that Senator McDougall had mentioned, I would point out the economic development one is really the driving force for Hanover, because as we know, even to go through VDOT's process, which we acknowledge is in place, that takes time, and ultimately we went up to the district level and it was decided not to be approved. We could have appealed that, but by that point, the economic development prospect had left, and it would have been a waste of time and effort to do so. So we're just looking really primarily for economic development, but it does come up on the residential side. We have negotiations. Developers and neighbors are in agreement, but we're waiting for VDOT, and that process, if we have to go all the way up, takes time when we have folks, local engineers. We're not looking for non-engineers to be involved in this process, but we have engineers who say, it's okay, but when I check with the district, they tell me that that's not the standard that we should be.
So a residency engineer does not have to be a licensed engineer?
The residency administrators are not always engineers, but the AG's office suggested language to ensure that engineers would be the only ones to apply these standards.
So there would be a professional, making the determination. And at this point in time, though, the department, although they have some concerns, they have no position on the bill. Certainly in the public view of what we do down here, this would land firmly in the common sense bucket. Senator
Mr. Chairman,
McDougall.
and just, I don't want to belabor it, the specific instance that Mr. Walter talked about, there's a company that constructs and sells cranes, and there are the cranes that you see that are used a lot in commercial, residential construction projects, but they're long. Some of them are 150 feet long, and they didn't want to turn them out into the road if there was no traffic control device. And so they said, we'll pay for the stoplight, we'll pay for everything, we'll even pay for the stoplight to only be operational when we're moving cranes within certain times of day. And that was, it took months to move through that process. And after about, I don't remember exactly how many months, it was 6 to 8 months, they said, forget it, we'll do something else.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the bill, other than the folks that we've heard? Anyone in opposition to the bill, other than what we've already heard? There we are.
Move the report, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second to report. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye on the board. Opposed, nay. Oh, excuse me.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. If VDOT comes back, Senator McDougall, and makes a further case before this hits the floor that they have a different determination, perhaps we could deal with it then. But right now, your bill supports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And because Ms. Maxwell is from Hanover, I'll make sure I talk with her. So additionally, to make sure if there's anything else that we can do that would raise their comfort level. Mr. Chairman,
excuse me, one moment. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next one I'm going to do is, I think, fairly easy, 527. Mr. Chairman, this was a code commission bill dealing with commercial driver's license, and I think Mr. Millicent's still here. Oh, Rick is still here, too. This became in the code as we started looking at this over the last couple of years, some items that were unset out, meaning there were laws that we passed, but in the black book sitting behind Senator Spruill, they're not there. So you can't actually, when you pick up the code, find them. And so there were some issues with that. And then as we went through the commercial driver's license, there's an act of statement of intent and purpose, and there was just no reason for it as we went through it. So the Code Commission decided to move to repeal it, and that's what you have in front of you. It actually, except for repealing something that's not set out, it doesn't do anything.
Oh, okay. Do we have anybody here who is a follower of the Code Commission who would like to speak in favor or
Senator
against
Edwards
the bill?
made me carry this bill.
Move to report.
Second.
We have a movement to report and a second. Open the rolls. All in favor, report aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little concerned about my luck going forward here with this last one.
Well, the Code Commission is a license to improve your batting average in the Senate. I need to get on that one day. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, there's a heavy price to pay with years of your life from sitting in those meetings. Mr. Chairman, the next one is Senate Bill 1010, and this is dealing with Norris Bridge across the Rappahannock River. And Mr. Chairman, I know that my good friend and neighbor, Ms. Maxwell, is not going to be as kind in her words about this bill. But, Mr. Chairman, the issue, and it's not from Hanover, Mr. Chairman, the issue is we have a bridge that is tiny, one of similar creation or similar structure in Minnesota, fell down, It is concerning for the residents. There are numerous times over the years where it's had to be shut down for various reasons. And last year, this body voted for the Special Structures Act, named after the North Bridge, to try to find a funding stream. So as we looked at that this summer, many of my constituents became concerned about where they were going to find the money and became concerned about how long it would take to deal with this issue. So, Mr. Chairman, we came up with this solution, and this was one that constituents actually came up with, and we drafted the legislation, and that is to allocate $80 million into that fund to be able to fund the North Bridge, because with that beginning money, the rest of it the remainder to completion is easily doable, but that initial part is extremely challenging. So, Mr. Chairman, my constituents feel extremely strongly about this, and we worked last year to find some solutions of how to create the fund. This is, I concede, a aggressive approach to try to jumpstart that process, because without putting some money in at the beginning, we are talking best case scenario 8 years and likely significantly longer than that. So
what is the projected lifespan structurally of the bridge at this point?
Mr. Chairman, you're taxing my memory. The bridge is, I want to say, 68 or 69 years old, and so it has been in different states of repair. So things will happen that'll take it down below a state of repair. There will be some repairs made, and as you, the committee is well aware, that can move back and forth with different conditions. But it is, I do believe, and Joanne might correct me, I think it's less than 75 years might have been the max lifespan on the bridge. So unless something like this happens, we're not going to be able to do anything in that lifespan timeframe, and that's what we're trying to move forward.
And just for the panel, this bridge, I believe, spans the Rappahannock River between Lancaster County and
Middlesex.
And Middlesex County. It connects the peninsula to the northern neck.
And, Mr. Chairman, that's a very good point. In that part of the world, there are really only 3 options for people to traverse the river. There's one in Port Royal, which is close to Fredericksburg. There's one in Tappahannock, and then this one's all the way down at the end. And it creates, if you're to go all the way around, it's a hair shy of 100 miles to make that trip up to the next bridge and come back down. So it is a lengthy trip.
Okay.
Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
Could I have someone from to answer the questions for us? The $80 million allocation, do they have that money to do that?
Mr. Chair, I guess it's easier to begin by stating that we're strongly opposed, the administration strongly
That wasn't my
opposed.
question.
I understand, but I need to explain. The reason we're opposed is because
I just
the
need to know you have
funding-
$80 million to find it, ma'am. I don't need to hear that, please.
There is not, the funding will interfere with the governor's transportation bill. This funding will run in contradiction to the governor's transportation package.
Okay. And Senator Cosgrove.
Senator McDougall, Madam President and myself have a bill dealing with a bridge in Suffolk that used to be there. It's not there anymore because it was so bad we had to tear it down. But at the same time, that'd be another $100 million. So if we direct the Commonwealth Transportation Board to do $80 million for your bridge, and then we do the same thing for Senator Lucas's bridge and my bridge, and then we do another one in wherever for somebody else's bridge, pretty soon we don't need the CTB. Would that be accurate?
Mr. Chairman, you present that as a negative, and I'm not sure.
Well, you know, the issue here is that we tried to take the politics out of this. We've done that with the creation of the CTB. We've done that with Smart Scale, where we're trying to let the science and the priorities speak for themselves without political interference. And while this bridge is I know badly in need of addressing, at this point in time, I don't know that it would be an appropriate thing to push this over to the Finance Committee with a recommendation to fund it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make one statement, I certainly understand the thoughts about smart scale. Unfortunately, how smart scale has been implemented eliminates rural areas, eliminates Central Virginia. We just don't have the ability to get into smart scale, partly because of the locality matches or the regional matches. Our jurisdictions are not big enough. There just is not enough money, partly because we don't have broadband either. So when you don't have some of the other opportunities to be able to compete, we can't even get into the smart scales discussion. I understand the chairman's position, but we're not like Northern Virginia or even Hampton Roads in being able to get in, have access to those pots of money to deal with these situations. That's why we tried to come up with a, again, creative solution to move it forward.
I understand. All right, we
Chairman?
we operate on a,
I have a question
Senator
of the patron,
Senator
please.
DeStaff.
Mr. Chairman, Senator McDougal, how many folks a day travel this bridge?
Mr. Chairman, I have it in my office, but I don't have it in my head.
Rough order of magnitude? Plus or minus
Probably
20,000?
Probably in the 15 to 20,000 vehicle trips.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you,
Senator
Senator McDougal, thank you very much. I'm very familiar with what it means to be geographically discriminated against, especially representing Virginia Beach in today's world. So I'd like to make a motion that we pass this fine bill.
Substitute motion.
And that is?
PBI.
Okay, substitute motion to pass by indefinitely. That takes precedence. If you vote green, you're voting to pass it by. Red is to keep it alive. So open the rolls, vote yay if you're in favor of PBI. Vote nay if you're not.
Ayes 8, no 6.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry, Senator McDougal.
rural Virginia almost won out, but thank you.
8-6, that's pretty close.
We'll be back.
Thank you very much. Next on the list, I don't see Senator Deeds here, so that brings up our President Pro Tem, Senator Louise Lucas. And tell us what Senate bill you have for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have Senate Bill 1038.
Turn your attention to Senate Bill 1038.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to start by saying that Hampton Roads currently has a balkanized system of transit bus services. Day and hours of operation, frequency of services, and even routes differ from city to city. Since each city provides funding only for the services it wants within its city limits. I have introduced Senate Bill 1038 to address the dire need for dedicated regionally derived funding to support high-efficiency transit in Hampton Roads. Since its introduction, I have heard from many interested stakeholders in support of my efforts and have suggested significant changes to the underlying revenue structure. I would therefore request that the bill be referred to the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee where we can work on it further. However, if you would like more information, I have about 4 pages here and I'd be glad to share it with you.
Okay, is that a threat, Senator Lucas? All right. Now, Hampton Roads has a transit authority, do they not, to deal with roads and bridges and these kinds of things? Is that correct?
Well, that is correct, but we're talking about our transportation.
This is strictly dealing with transit?
That's correct. And I think I have 2 experts back here. Joe Diller's one, and where's the other? And of course, Senator Cosgrove is another. He serves on HR Tax. So any questions that either of the 2 of us can't answer, you can defer to him.
So is this very similar to the Northern Virginia model of the Transportation Authority dealing with roads and what have you? And then we have the Transit Commission that deals with transit matters. Is that
At the end of it, yes, sir.
At the end of this, yes,
Right
sir.
now, we're not touching anything with HR attack or encroaching on any
Okay,
of
could
the
you
funds.
introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Joe Dillard. I'm the employed lobbyist for Hampton Roads Transit, also known as the Transportation District Commission of Hampton Roads.
Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Lucas, and I apologize for not knowing the answer to this already, but basically, HRTs we have right now is basically wheeled vehicles, buses, vans, that type of thing. Is there a contemplation of light rail in this bill?
There's not. Right now, based on the funding that this is addressing, is strictly for bus and our bus network. So last year, DRPT gave us half grant money. We came up with a regional advisory group to basically improve our bus service. So none of that money will be going to light rail.
Well, Mr. Chairman, further question?
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Doctor. I guess the other question, you say, right now, but can this bill be used as a vehicle to do light rail?
Currently written and 1038, it can. When we get it to finance, we're going to finance it with Jason Powell. Of course, talk with you, Senator, and other senators from Hampton Roads to make sure that we make it ironclad.
Well, I don't want light rail.
It is.
We do understand.
Yeah.
We understand.
So, could you repeat the answer to that question about light rail?
So right now, the way the bill is written, it doesn't rule out light rail, paratransit. We have the only ferry system in the Commonwealth of Virginia. However, in talking with others in the other companion bill, we will be addressing where it can be dedicated to and what service.
All right, Mr. Chairman, one comment to
Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Lucas, I think it's a good idea, but, you know, there's a heavy resistance to light rail from some of the surrounding areas.
Oh, we do understand that.
Yeah,
And that's the reason why we want to go to the finance and see if we can figure it out up there. I don't anticipate it being attached to this bill.
Not at all. And the mayor spoke this morning, and the mayor of Virginia Beach also supports this initiative of the regional backbone funding. So they do know, they are aware of the localities that it's only for buses, and we will address it in the bill.
Well, four of the mayors in Hampton Roads signed off on it, correct?
Yes, and one of them was Virginia Beach Mayor Dyer did.
All right,
sign
Mr.
off.
Chairman, just speak to the bill then.
Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Lucas, I'll go ahead and support your bill today and re-refer to finance.
Yes, that is exactly correct.
But if it comes out still allowing an avenue for light rail,
I understand.
Yeah,
I know exactly where you're headed.
okay.
Okay,
All right,
Lisa,
thank you.
would you like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Lisa Guthrie with the Virginia Transit Association, and we support the bill. It's time for us to really look at regional solutions to transportation, particularly with transit. And I think, especially with some of the other bills, we've really heard the need for Hampton Roads to address how we get across the entire region and not stop at the jurisdictional boundaries.
What is the state? I would assume this would deal with rapid bus, these kinds of transit services.
In the future, but right now, this bill isn't bus rapid transit. It is 15-minute frequency and services, but to be bus rapid transit, you need dedicated right-of-ways, priority signaling, and that's not what this does. But it does increase our 15-minute frequency services, and as the senator said, like if you live in Norfolk right now, it's impossible to get to Virginia Beach
That's
on a
right.
Sunday. Vice versa, if you live in Virginia Beach and work in Hampton or go to school in Hampton, it's impossible. So
On
it just
Sunday,
increases the
any day
service.
after 6 o'clock.
So this bill will deal with being able to have a fund that could collect the taxes that are designated to it, you know, to allow you to make those improvements to your transit system.
Correct.
That is
All right, the bill is before us. Senator Cosgrove?
Let me ask Lisa if you don't, if I
Come on,
might,
Lisa.
Mr. Chairman. Lisa, is there any language that we can put in as an amendment that will make it clear that light rail will not be included in this?
You could, at some point, say that it would be rubber tires. I've seen another version of this bill that focuses on bus services. So
I
as
was talking to
defined in the
that-
code.
I was talking to that, Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But thank you.
Yes, sir. I would have to study it, but there's certainly a way we could tighten it up.
All right. Mr. Chairman, if I might try to explain our hesitance on this. Basically, there was a referendum for light rail, and the citizens in our area said no. They did not want to expand light rail.
When you say citizens in your area, do you mean Chesapeake or do you mean
was,
all of Hampton Roads?
Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach?
Yeah, well, basically, the logical extension would be from Norfolk into Virginia Beach. Those are the two main,
We're not talking about connecting North and Southampton roads.
No.
No, well,
not
Mr. Chairman, it was from Virginia Beach, not Norfolk. It was from Virginia Beach that mainly object to it.
Right, right. So that's our hesitancy, and the reason that I would ask that Lisa at least look at that and provide it to finance. Okay? Right, thanks.
I appreciate that, but there is no effort to do an end run around you.
I know that. But
So,
you know what?
Are we proposing an amendment here that we need to vote on?
No.
Okay, just let it go as it is. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to support the bill. All in
Mr.
favor?
Chairman, I
hit-
just want to clarify that the
Senator
motion is to
DeStep.
report and re-refer to finance.
Excuse me.
That is
It is a report, and that was the intent, is to report and re-refer to finance. All in favor of that motion signify by voting aye. Those opposed, nay.
Well, I thank you so very much.
Well, there you go. We're a friendly committee.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
I only have one bill, so I'm 1 for 1.
Well, there you go. We're almost as easy as local government.
Mr. Chairman?
All right, we have next, Senator, if we could take, are you involved in the committee over there, Senator Edwards?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay, we have a very, very quick matter with Senator Reeves, if we can get him out of here, and then we'll take you up, and then Senator Barker. Senator Reeves.
Mr. Chairman, this will be a very quick bill. We have a resolution from the Board of Supervisors from Spotsylvania County to be able to post a memorial plaque on one of our overpasses on 95 for Corporal Ryan McGee, who was a well-known football player in our area, signed up to go in the military, was in the 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, served multiple tours in Afghanistan, was killed. This came at the request of my locality and the schools and everybody where I live, and they've agreed to it, and this is just a bill authorizing them that ability. There is one floor amendment or one line amendment. The line amendment simply takes out the full spelling of corporal and puts in CPL so it can make the nameplate bigger.
Move the amendment.
So moved.
And so that is the bill.
We have the line amendment moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And, okay, we're good to go there.
Mr. Chairman, unless there's any
Senator
objection,
Obenchain.
unless anybody objects, I move to report.
We have a motion to report the bill and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye on the board. Those opposed, nay.
Thank you.
You're out of here, Senator Reeves. Thank you. Senator Edwards, I know you wanted to bring something back before us
Yes,
that,
Senate Bill 972, it's a way to provide additional funding for the state police so that
Mr.
pay-
Chairman.
right, I know, we need to have
Mr. Chairman?
a motion to
Mr. Chairman?
to bring this back up. But, and what bill are we talking about?
972.
972.
Mr.
Senator
Chairman,
Boysko.
having voted on the prevailing side, I request that we reconsider the vote of SB 972.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to reconsider the vote. I would assume that is a vote on the board. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay on the voting board. Just open the rolls. Okay. Could we call the roll?
Senator Favola,
Aye by proxy.
Senator Cosgrove.
Aye.
Senator DeStef.
Aye.
Senator Suderline.
Yes.
Senator McClellan. Senator Peake.
Yes, by proxy.
Senator Boysko. Senator Obenchain. Senator Eben. Senator Surville. Senator McPike. Senator Sproul. Senator Pillion. Senator Marsden.
Aye. All right, we are reconsidering the vote. Do you
Could we
a
have some
further-
short,
a further,
Could we have some testimony, short testimony?
I think we have to,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. Last week when we considered this vote, we didn't really discuss the great need of our state police. And after it was brought to my attention, I felt it was really important that we fully vet this bill. I think it's a very worthy bill, and I think we need to reconsider it, and I hope that we will move it forward.
All right. And Senator Edwards, does anything else you want to say on the
Mr.
bill?
Wayne Huggins, I'd like for him to have a few words to say.
Okay. And Rick, you're still here, so good. All right.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, particularly Senator Boysko, thank you so very, very much for giving us this opportunity to explain a very serious need to you. And I have several of my state police colleagues with me, and I would like to point out that Trooper Adam Keene, First Sergeant Mitchell Smith, Sergeant Aaron Benner, Senior Trooper Jessica Sheehan, and Sergeant Dylan Davenport are here off duty. They've taken their own leave. As a matter of fact, Sergeant Davenport is on sick leave. She's recovering from surgery. This is how important this matter is. And you all need to know the crisis that the state police is currently facing. As of today, we have 263 trooper vacancies. That's out of 1,393. It's about 20%. In addition to that, if that's not bad enough, we have 315 troopers who are eligible to retire this year. And if that's not bad enough, in the month of January so far, we're in the last day of January, but so far we've lost 24 additional troopers this month alone. If this trend continues, and there's every indication it's going to, the services that we have provided you all over the last 3 weeks, it's very, very well conceivable that we might not be able to provide those services a year from now simply because we don't have the people to provide those services. And I'd like to put some dollar and cents to this so that you can understand the magnitude of this problem. We did a study, and between August 1st of 2018 and July the 31st of 2019, a one-year period last year, we lost 80 troopers to resignation, not retirement, to resignation. So we did a fiscal impact study on what that cost the Commonwealth, and those 80 troopers leaving at various stages in their career, it cost the Commonwealth over $16 million. But it's actually twice that much, because now we've got to spend that amount of money to replace those 80 troopers. This is a serious matter. We have become not a whole lot more than a training ground for local law enforcement. And this is what's happening to us. They are coming to our well-trained, highly qualified troopers, and they're saying, and the reason they can do this is because we've already incurred the training costs. They don't have to. We will give you a signing bonus, increase your pay, send you through a one-week school, and you end up wearing a state police uniform tomorrow, Friday, and a week from Monday, you're wearing their uniform and patrolling their streets, and the Commonwealth has lost all of that training and all that experience. What the costs I've just quoted does not include is what I refer to as the productivity factor, because these are seasoned professional troopers that have walked out the door to be replaced at hopefully some point in time in the future by rookie troopers. And if I could, I'd like to ask Senior Trooper Sheehan if she could very quickly tell you her and her husband's story. Trooper Sheehan is a 13-year veteran of the state police, Senior Trooper Sheehan, and her husband, Special Agent Sheehan, is a 21-year veteran of the state police.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to take the time to speak to you guys today. This is a topic that's very close to my heart and to my family and to everyone that I know. I'm a wife, I'm a mother. I've been with this department for 13 years. I've had one career progression from trooper to senior trooper. My husband, as he said, is a special agent. He does insurance fraud and arson for the department. He's gone from senior trooper to agent, so he's had one career progression and one promotion. We pretty much make the same thing. We barely make any difference. That's the definition of pay compression. So that's a problem that we're facing within our department. So 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. I've had to have multiple surgeries for that. Because of that, I can't work overtime, and my husband can't work overtime because we've got two small children. So we're constantly fighting medical bills, but we can't get caught up. We're paycheck to paycheck. And sometimes we're overdrawn in our checking account. And at 13 years with the department and him with 21 years at the department, we shouldn't be facing these sort of issues. Something I didn't add earlier is that I'm a recruiter for this department. So I've been doing that for the past 3 years, and it's something that I love because I bleed blue and gray. My husband does too. We all do. And we were both here at the Capitol on January 20th. But one of the problems that I run into every single day that I talk to people on the phone or at a career fair, they want to know what they're going to be making in 5 years. They want to know what they're going to be making in 10 years. And I don't have an answer for them.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, one of the things I'm very familiar with, having run the Department of Juvenile Justice for a time, in the years after we abandoned the STEP system, where employees could pretty much figure out,
Yes, sir.
without cost of living factored in, but they'd kind of know where they were going to end up in their career and how long it would take them to get there. And just to review this with the committee and the folks who are here today, what they replaced that with is sort of a performance-based system where they said, look, we're going to have this system of pay bands and what have you, and you're going to be able to make a determination as an agency director as to how you want to distribute that money within, the confines of this band system. And, we'll give you 4, 5, 6% every year, whatever, and you would be able to apply it to people. That was a very popular thing at the time. Everybody was in to pay for performance, and certainly it makes sense in theory. Very, very hard to execute fairly. And so what has happened is instead of funding state employees at the front end of the budget as an obligation, as part of the base budget, my experience has been we kind of look around at the end of the year and say, well, do we have anything left? And that's when you get these years where there's 0 or 1 or 2, and we fall behind, and maybe one year you'll get 3, but nobody knows when it's coming, if it's coming. It is very, very hard to determine, and the state police are not alone in the situation. Many state employees are, basically speaking, 2 people now under the system starting 5, 10 years apart, theoretically are going to be making the same amount of money. It is a deplorable system. I recently visited the Fusion Center and spoke with Colonel Settle, and suggested to him is that wouldn't it be an interesting idea to return to having the state police as a pilot to see what it would take, what it would cost to take them back to a step system where you could slot people along that based on their years of experience and what have you, without harming anyone. Because clearly just putting money into this is not the solution. We gave the state police a pay raise, John, what, 6,000, somewhere around that neighborhood?
Yes.
A few years ago, and all of a sudden, is that pretty close?
It is, but here's the problem with pay raises.
Mr. Chairman, is that a question somewhere we're trying to move on?
It is.
Chairman?
Senator Cosgrove.
If I might, we did give our troopers a raise several years ago, but the compression problem
Correct.
basically smashes that, so that raise really is inconsequential after just a couple of years.
Yeah.
It
Understood.
exacerbates the compression problem.
Correct. And I understand that. And what it tells me is that if you're still having those problems today, that people need more than just money. They need predictability. They need a sense that their years of service have been recognized. The fact that there are differences between rookie troopers and people who've been there for 5 years, and I absolutely get that. And there is, as that's been placed in front of you, which is a compensation, compression, and retention strategy.
It's a plan.
It's a plan to.
If this plan could be fully funded, it solves the problem. So we brought you the problem, we have a solution, and this bill provides a funding mechanism. The last thing the point I would like to make, and I'd like to address a question I thought was an excellent question that Senator Suderline asked last week. Senator Suderline asked this question. He said, shouldn't this be funded out of general funds? And the answer is yes. I became superintendent 25 years ago. This was a $12 million problem 25 years ago. It has not been addressed through the general funds, and today it's a $27 million problem. And as a result, we developed an alternative approach. You won't do it through the general funds,
address that?
maybe this way.
Actually, I'd like to, if you don't mind.
Senator
Mr. Chairman,
DeStaff.
I've sat down with Wayne Hutchinson, the superintendent, not once, but about 5 times in the last 3 years. And I don't like solving it this way. This isn't the way we should be solving it. And Wayne, we've had this conversation multiple times. The way we should solve it is like we do everything else in the budget. This should be part of the base budget. It should be part of our general fund. Finance should be putting the $27 million in this year, and then I think it's $1.82 million per year thereafter.
Correct.
And solve the problem. This is a Band-Aid. What we're getting ready to do is another Band-Aid, but eventually we're going to have to pull up our big boy and girl pants, put it in the budget, get it out of general funds, and do it right. I hate that we keep coming back and putting a Band-Aid over a Band-Aid over a Band-Aid when we have the opportunity to fix it and fix it right. I'm going to support this, but I'm begging you, we got to do this right. We ask our troopers to go out there on a daily basis, and they're at the back when it comes to doing the budget. They're at the back. One of the first things we cut their training, we cut their schools, then we cut their pay, and we cut it on the wrong end of it.
Yeah.
And we've got to take a responsible position and do this right. It's got to be handled in the budget. It's got to be handled out of general funds. And I'm going to support this Band-Aid, but I'll carry the budget amendment next year to have it done right. I'm tired of having to put Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid on this problem that we know, and it's been there forever. And it's ridiculous that we're putting it on the shoulders of these men and women when we can't take care of our troopers.
Senator
Mr. Chairman,
Schumerman.
thank you. So I'm carrying Senator Newman's proxy. I've got very few instructions, except on this, I'm to make it very clear that he's carrying a 5% increase budget amendment this year so that it would be done through the general fund, because that's the way it ought to be. It's the fairest thing to everyone, including the taxpayers who pay their taxes expecting it to go for core functions of government like the state police. He's on the Finance Committee. He's been a conferee a few times, so I don't know what will happen this time, but he'll certainly be in the mix of conversation on the Finance Committee. And I think that's the way it ought to be. I think that's what he's proposing as well. And I would just suggest that's the way we ought to do this.
Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, I understand what Senator Schumerman is saying, but Senator Newman is one vote, one of the 3 on our side on appropriations.
Yes, 5.
Oh, my bad. I'm an engineer. I can't add it. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Look, I don't like this bill. I don't like the way we're doing this. I totally agree with Senator Schumerman and Senator DeStaff that this has to be part of the budget. What I would ask the committee to do is recommend reporting this bill and furthering it to finance. And once we do that, I think it's incumbent upon all of us on this committee, if you really believe what you're saying here, if you really believe what, we'd like to say, in print and in media, let's all talk to our Finance and Appropriations Committee and have them find $27 million out of a $110 billion biennial budget and fix this damn problem once and for all.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if other folks, I presume, are in support in the back, but I think the committee is prepared for a motion. I think there are many vehicles already within our code, Mr. Chairman, that do designate funds to different specialty things like 4 for Life, like 911 operator fees, other additions, and this is along the similar lines. And so, Mr. Chairman, if the timing is appropriate, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'll take a motion. I do have, go ahead and make the motion that we report the bill.
Report and re-refer to finance.
Okay.
Second.
Senator, and now I want to have some more technical discussion here because I understand that this would be administered through DMV, and there's a different figure on the cost of or the cost to DMV that they would have to take out of the collected funds to pay for it. Commissioner Holcomb.
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner. First of all, I would not counter anything that the speakers have said. I will tell you, every state employee needs to be paid more.
Right.
I would love to tell you what our retention rate is and how many vacancies we have, but you can just go to your nearest DMV and see the empty window to know. Because we get no money out of the general fund, to collect this money, we're going to have to spend our money to collect it. So, for instance, the first year when we would collect $8.8 million, that's going to cost us $121,000. The last year, the 10th year, to collect $106 million for state police would cost us $1.4 million. Or to put it in people terms, about 23 positions. On the House side, they adopted a much more reasonable amendment at our request of 1.4%, which would cover our cost, and we would certainly hope that the committee would consider at least allowing DMV to break even on this and not fund state police out of the DMV general fund, special fund.
Mr. Chairman, if we don't have a substitute, or if we do have a substitute, I would withdraw the motion to add the substitute if it's available.
Is
that the intent?
Okay, the motion is withdrawn. At this point, let me say this.
Here's the amendment. It's here. It's a 1.4%.
Instead of?
It was 25 cents per transaction.
But it's 1.4%. Do I have a motion on the amendment?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the amendment's before us.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that,
Senator Cosgrove.
can I get a consensus? Is that okay with you guys?
Yes, sir. That, excuse me. That equates to, that 1.4% equates to 2.5 cents. And you remember last week, the amendment was 25 cents. So I think that's a very, very reasonable thing. And we're not expecting DMV to take this out of their hide.
Yeah. The way I would like to posture this is that, to do this and send it over to finance, I would like to call it a pilot. I would like to call it, because other state employees are going to look at this and go, what about us? But if they see it as what I'm hoping it will be, which is a path forward to reinstate a system of pay here in the Commonwealth that will help in the retention and the attraction of state employees, and to get their compensation as to where it needs to be, given the the resources of the Commonwealth, and to be able to work towards a day when we fund our state employees at the front end of the budget and not at the back end of the budget, which is what we do now after we've determined what our other needs are. And I don't know exactly how I would amend the language in the bill to do that, but but if that's an avenue people would like to pursue.
Mr. Chairman, no, sir. This is not a pilot. This is real. We're losing state troopers. So this is not something that we're trying to start up. That we have a problem. So this is something that they are being trained and going to other agencies. We lose them by retirement. They're quitting. This is not a pilot program. This is we are in serious need here. So don't call it what it is. This is a program that's really needed, that we are behind. We need to catch up. It's not pilot. We need to catch up. We need to hire more state troopers, give them the money that they need. Yeah. So let's not hide it.
That's certainly not the intent. Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, I think we've talked about this. We're all in concurrence, so we're not doing it the right way. We've got to do something. So that being the case, I'm actually going to defer to Senator McPike, who made the original motion to report. If he would seduce that now, I would second it.
And we refer to finance.
That we recommend reporting and refer to finance and approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to report and refer.
Mr. Chairman, hold on just a second. Amendment to adopt. We didn't move the amendment.
We moved the amendment.
It was adopted.
So be report and re-refer the bill as amended to finance.
We did,
okay.
Yeah.
I would reiterate, the fact that, this is a drastic change in policy to revert back to a system somewhat similar, I would assume, to the mid-'90s or late '90s when this was all changed. And I would encourage I'm on finance, Senator Newman is on finance, Senator McClellan from this committee, is that, communications are very, very important. And we need to and Senator Spruill, you can have a pilot program that's permanent, but a pilot really means that it's only being done in one agency of government, not in all of them. And that's the message we want to get out. We want to see this as a message of hope to other state employees, and not that we're doing something for a favored agency, because I value all state employees equally. Right now, the reason it makes so much sense to start with the state police is that the critical situation that you happen to be in puts you in a prioritized situation so that we can handle it. But I'll deal with that when it gets over to the Finance Committee, so that we can propose this correctly, so that the other employees of the Commonwealth understand where we're going and don't see this as some kind of a backroom deal, if you will. That there's purpose, that there's something in this for everyone. Wayne, last word.
We have no problem. I think Senator Spruill hit the nail right on the head. But you call it whatever you want. Use whatever vehicle you want. The only thing we're asking is you solve our problem. At this moment, we're supposed to have 27 dispatchers in Chesapeake. We've got 12. We're absent. We got troopers coming off the road to dispatch. This problem is so serious. Call it what you want. Use whatever vehicle you want. But please solve the problem.
Mr. Chairman, I'll call the question.
Call the question. All those in favor?
I've been sitting here with my.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw. I didn't realize
That's
Senator Obenshain had not had a chance to. Go ahead.
Senator Obenshain?
Mark, I didn't know you'd want to. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
I appreciate it. I wasn't able to be here last week. Wayne and I have talked about this as well. In my view, government doesn't have any more basic functions than public safety. If you can't do that, we have no business doing many of the other things that we do. It's either a priority or it's not. If it's a priority, you pay for it. And we've done a pretty pitiful job of paying for public safety. And what I see on this committee is, it looks to me like unanimous support for finding that money. Every single member on this committee, I think, has expressed support for finding it. Now, unfortunately, this committee isn't going to make that decision about where it's going to come from. What this committee is going to do is, it looks like it's going to pass this along to the Finance Committee. You're going to have Senator Newman's budget amendment. You're going to have this. And I don't know whether there are going to be other vehicles as well. I'm just sad that the governor didn't treat it as a priority and find a way to fit this in the budget. He should have done it. He didn't. That's a failure. I trust our Finance Committee. I know that Senator Marsden, Senator McClellan, Senator Evans, Senator Newman, is Senator McPike on there? They are on the Finance Committee. And they're going to wind up having to figure out whether this is going to be the vehicle or not for how to do it. I've always said that I believe it's a priority. I've supported budget amendments in the past to find that money, and I hope and pray that the Finance Committee is going to do it this year. I'm going to vote against this, not because I'm not for that money. I will vote. I would vote for a budget amendment to find that money. I just don't think this is the right way to do it. I think that it is morally incumbent upon us in this process to come up with it. And I'm counting on our Finance Committee to deliver on the promise that the members have made
Thank
here
you,
today.
Senator Obenshain, but this certainly, passing this bill gives the Finance Committee greater flexibility, because as you know, with the Finance Committee, everybody's already has designs on where money's going to go. This gives us an additional option for funds that can be distributed towards this, saving other monies for other things. But that's a choice for the Finance Committee to make. So with that, would you open the rolls? All in favor of the passage of Senate Bill, 972, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Barbara? Registration fee. You want me to hit you with a yeah? Could you clear the board
Absolutely.
and let Senator Favola revoke her proxy?
Ready?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Hit it, Barbara.
She's
Okay. Could you open the rolls? All in favor? 972. Say aye. Opposed, nay.
Comes to technology.
Okay.
ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, no 4. You have you're halfway to your goal here, and but we will be advocates. I think in the Senate committee, those of us on this committee will be your advocates on Senate Finance and Appropriations. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. We've got Senator Barker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's Senate Bill 761. It's very straightforward, fairly simple type of thing. Just a decision has to be made as to what to do. What this does is I've had have a constituent in my district who's been in this country for 22 years, has had an employment authorization document, and has actually for the last 21 years been working in a school in Fairfax County. What this legislation would do, and we worked with the Department of Motor Vehicles on this, is to provide that one of the options for being able to get a license is a valid, unexpired employment authorization document. This is not a full license. It's a limited duration license, and the license would be in effect for either the duration of the employment authorization document or 1 year, whichever is less. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any question. There is a substitute, so that has the clarifying language there.
Okay, we have a first and a second to approve to introduce the substitute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Senate Bill 761, the substitute for which is before us.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Senator
ask a
Suderline.
question?
Question for the patron?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd ask the senator, could he give me an explanation of why we would pursue this? Why someone would have this, but they wouldn't have the other, they wouldn't already qualify?
This person does not qualify at the current time with any of the other documents, but has been teaching in Fairfax County for the last 21 years. So obviously has been a long-term resident of the U.S. and has the employment authorization document for that.
Senator Cosgrove.
I probably have a few more questions. So this is about one person?
Well, this is, it might apply to, I'm sure it may apply to others as well, but this is one person that came in our district.
But I guess I just don't, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not as familiar with this document, so I'm trying to figure out who would have this document but would not have all the other documents. How do they arrive at this situation is my question.
This is a federal document that is obtained to be able to, they got to have a social security number and everything, we got to pay their taxes and everything, having this. But this is someone who had that document but did not have other documents.
Okay. Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Barker, are you familiar with the other driver's license bill we passed out just an hour or so ago?
Generally, yes. Yeah.
Would this person not be covered under that particular legislation?
This person would be covered under that legislation. So that's the case. So but I felt it was incumbent upon me to make sure that in case that legislation did not get all the way through, that there was an opportunity here to be able to address this specific issue.
Somebody else told me that a week ago.
So this bill is a belt and suspenders?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Holcomb, would you, how does this work for your agency?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Sharon Brown, Department of Motor Vehicles. And I think that the situation that we're discussing right now, there are people under current Virginia law who are authorized to be in the United States by the federal government. They're issued an employment authorization document. However, they're not in one of those categories that are listed in 462328.1 as being eligible.
So in this particular, it seems like we need this bill because it is temporary. The matters in the other bill that came forward, you might be able to sort of qualify, but then you'd get a 10-year license or a 8-year license or whatever, or you'd get a, so that would be inappropriate.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the substitute moved the employment authorization document to paragraph B of 46-328, and that paragraph B is for the limited duration
Paragraph,
driver's
I'm sorry,
license.
B or D?
B as in boy.
Uh-huh.
So, Mr. Chairman,
So this would trigger, a valid unexpired employment authorization document would trigger only a limited duration license and not a full driver's license. However, if that person came in based on that other bill and asked for a driver's license, wouldn't they be able to get a non-temporary? Wouldn't they be able to get a regular duration, long-term license? And is that a good or a bad thing?
Well, so if I may?
Sure.
Under the driver's license bill, Senator Boysko's bill, yes, they would be able to get a standard duration and regular 8-year license. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I defer.
Senator Barker, could you weigh in on that? And there's some reason why people are giving time-limited licenses here to these individuals, and is there a purpose to that not having this specific procedure for those individuals?
Part of what you have is you have people with the employment authorization documents that are fairly short term. This happens to be a person who's had this for a long time, but there are many people who have the employment authorization document, but only a time limited type of thing. This is to make the duration of the license more consistent with that in that situation. And so that's why we worked with the department on this and came up with this as a solution that would get the person a license. They would have to come back with at least within a year to go through the process again, but it would resolve their situations they have right now.
So that you don't believe there would be any confusion between someone coming in to get this through this mechanism versus somebody coming in to get the full driver's license? There'd be no conflict there.
If they met the criteria that are in the Senator Boysko's bill, obviously they would have the option to be able to do that. This person, I think, probably would meet that, but I'm sure there may be others who have an employment authorization document who would not meet all the criteria in that. So.
Mr. Chair, you may be asking if there's anybody in favor or
yeah.
opposed.
Is there anybody here who would like to testify on this bill, either for or against? Bill's before us.
I'm going to move to the report. Okay. And second, I don't see any harm in this, and it must be re-referred to finance. So I guess the motion Senator McPike made is to report and re-refer to finance, and we're reporting with the substitute.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right. The bill is before us. We have a first and a second. Open the rolls. All in favor say aye, or vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Yeah.
On the board.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7. The bill passes. I hope somebody can use it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last issue. Senator Servell, you're back. It is that we have 15 Senator Servell bills before us. No, how many do we have, Scott? 2. That's almost none.
I have 2 quick ones.
You also have?
Very quick.
You, hold on here. Oh, I see. Is your committee over with Senator Servell? Yeah. Okay, we'll take Senator DeSteph, and then we'll deal with Senator Servell's bills. Do you like to do it?
Sure, members of the committee, let's first start with Senate Bill 87, which will probably be one of the quickest. This is for a Virginia Beach Strong license plate. And after the mass tragedy, we currently have a plate being designed for presentation or recommendation to DMV. I thought we would have a mock-up of it by this week, but there seems to be some confusion, so we should have it by the time this hits the floor, I hope. But what this does is it allows for a license plate for those who want to purchase it, recognizing the tragedy that happened in Virginia Beach on March 31st of last year.
Interestingly enough, after the tragedy at Virginia Tech, they kind of posed their license plate more as a memorial thing that people weren't interested in. But I think VB Strong, is a positive statement about the mood of the city and not a remembrance thing, and may have a better chance of getting the requisite.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that we actually doesn't even need the requisite because we're not putting additional money into a fund or anything like that. But also it's about resolve, truly resolve.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion on Senator Cosgrove?
I want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. Is this still going to require the 450 prepaid plates?
It does not. It's my understanding it does not. Mr. Chairman, Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, can we get DMV to clarify?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Cosgrove, Senator McPeak, I'm sorry.
He thinks he's Bill Carrico.
The bill as drafted exempts it from the 450.
Is there a cost to the department for producing this plate?
That's, Mr. Chairman, that's why the General Assembly came up with 450 to begin with. That makes us whole. If we sell 450 of them, we cover our cost of producing the plate.
But in this particular case, there will be a cost to the department for doing this.
Mr. Chairman, there's a cost to the department for creating any special plate, and that's why the General Assembly put the 450 requirement in. Certainly, if you waive the 450, we will produce the plate, but we'll do whatever the General Assembly's will is on the plate.
Can I ask a question about that?
Senator Suderline.
Has it been waived in any previous legislation?
Mr. Chairman,
It's been
Senator
adopted.
Suderland, the only time the 450 has been waived is primarily on military metal plates, Purple Heart, prisoner of war, because let's hope we don't have 450 prisoners of war.
Thank you.
That's been the only time that, to my knowledge, it's been waived.
Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, I've been on transportation for a long time, and I represent part of Virginia Beach as well. But Bill, I really want to see the plate, but I think we got to have the 450 in there. I mean, Virginia Beach has 450,000 people. That's a very small percentage. And to be honest with you, I live in Chesapeake, and I'd probably buy one.
Senator Favola.
I am sympathetic to this, and I know the 450 can be a high bar to reach. Could we re-refer this to finance? What would the cost be if? Do we know what the cost would be if they say got 100 plates or 200 plates?
I think the cost to produce the plate is the design and.
What's the cost to produce a plate, Rick?
Is there a baseline?
I think it's 450 times $40.75.
Senator Cosgrove, thank you. Senator Cosgrove, are you proposing an amendment that would make this require the 450?
In deference to my good friend Senator DeSteph, I am not.
You're not making that motion, so the
I'll let
bill.
somebody else make it.
Anybody else want to make that motion?
No, I would move to
move to
report and
continue.
re-refer to finance is what I would do. So that's my motion.
Does this, Lisa, does this need to go to finance because of the cost that DMV? Huh?
Mr. Chairman.
I would, if they want it up there, I wouldn't send this up there.
Okay.
The department has indicated that it would absorb the cost.
Well, we don't have the fourth.
No.
I think we have to re-refer it if we don't put the 450 in.
Mr. Chairman, in all deference to the patron, and this is something that should be memorialized.
It really
and
should.
Virginia Beach Strong is a strong message. you will be setting a brand-new precedent
Yeah.
that any special plate does not need to cover the cost of the plate.
Okay. I would,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, with what happened on March 31st, I think we set a precedent in the state of Virginia, a precedent sending a strong message about resolve and the importance of mental health and issues related to that. And in this General Assembly session, not just this year, but the special session which was called in reference to that tragedy last year. So I think we've already set a precedent with this and everything that's happened around it. And if you looked at the legislation associated on both sides of the aisle for the entire General Assembly this time, I think we know that the catalyst was the tragedy that happened in Virginia Beach on March 31st.
I would still be more comfortable with not setting that precedent. What I understand with the Purple Heart and what have you, that's a rolling kind of thing as people, move into qualifying for those plates. I mean, anybody could get a Virginia Beach strong plate if they lived in Appomattox, whereas this one is an earned thing and what have you, and this would be setting a precedent. So I think this needs to, my personal opinion, we operate on emotion, but I think my personal view here is that we need to have the 450 signatures, and I would ask for someone to move that we amend the bill to require that.
Mr. Chairman, I would simply move that we continue the bill. It remains in the body. We can collect the signatures in the meantime and get this thing done next year. I think it's a good idea, and I respect the senator for bringing it. But I think maybe to avoid the policy conflict and the precedent, I'd move that we continue.
Continue
the bill.
To continue the bill until the signatures are received. Is that till 2021?
Continue the bill into the next session. Correct.
Is there a second? I'm not saying.
Second.
All right, substitute motion, Mr. Chairman.
Substitute motion.
My substitute motion would be to recommend reporting and referring to finance.
Motion before us is to report and refer to finance.
I will second that motion. That was my original.
Okay. All in favor?
This is, and we're voting on the substitute.
We're voting on Senator Cosgrove's motion to report and re-refer to finance.
An inquiry, Mr. Chairman?
Inquiry from Senator.
And if this motion fails, then we'll go back to Senator McPike's motion, the primary motion. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Ayes 6, noes 9.
Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion.
Primary motion at this point in time is to carry the bill over till 2021. All in favor? Record your vote aye. Opposed, nay. All right, Senator Steff, you had one more?
I do, Mr. Chairman. We have Senate Bill 1035. Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 1035, and I have speakers on this as well, basically allows motorcycle dealerships and the franchise agreement to have the same standing and the same, we have a substitute on that, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
Substitutes offered on Senate Bill 1035. We have a motion. We have a first. Do we have a second to accept the substitute?
Yes.
We have a first and a second. All in favor of the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Substitutes before us.
All right, Mr. Chairman, what the substitute does here is it gives the motorcycle dealerships the same standing and same structure, similar structure, that you would for an automobile dealership. It's a pretty simple bill, but it was discovered when one of my constituents ran into an issue when they didn't have the same standing that of an automobile dealer has when it comes to the franchise agreements. With that, Mr. President, I'd like to yield the rest of my time over to a couple of individuals who are going to testify on this bill specifically.
Welcome.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Craig Whittam, representing the Virginia Power Sports Dealers Association. We support this bill. It clarifies a technical error in code that leaves some motorcycle dealers in a hole where they don't have a relevant market area. So this would simply correct that. And I have one of our members here who I'd like to let you explain to you how this unique situation has impacted him.
Okay.
David Lillard. I'm the owner of a Redline franchise motorcycle dealership for 26
Welcome.
years. The verbiage that was missing in this allowed a out-of-state manufacturer to put a dealer literally in my backyard and effectively take 88% of my business in the process of doing that, because more than or less than 700 for 30 miles versus 1 million in a 20-mile radius. What happens when you have a populace of 800,000? So the verbiage in the law didn't allow for 700 up to 1 million or 1 million and below. And so it left me with legally no relevant market area for my business. So I'm asking for you guys to fix that.
So you're asking us to pass the
Yes, ma'am.
pass the
please.
bill. Thank you for coming out
Yes,
today. Is there anybody in opposition to the?
Well, I have, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
you have a question?
I have a
Okay,
question.
Senator Peake.
For either the patron or the gentleman who just spoke. So if we pass this bill, does that then put that other guy out of business?
No, Mr. Chairman, that's already been, Mr. Chairman, Senator Peake, Madam Chairman, Senator Peake, that's already been taken care of by the adjudication process of going up through DMV. DMV had to rule by the existing laws. Mr. Lillard spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on an attorney to try to enforce a franchise agreement that couldn't be enforced because of a loophole in the law, or something that was left out as we were updating the automobile side of the law when it came to franchise agreements. We did not do the same for motorcycle dealerships.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peake.
Madam Chairman. Was a loophole in the law or a loophole in his franchise agreement?
It was, Madam Chair, Senator Peake, it wasn't a loophole in the franchise agreement. It was, as we updated the automobile laws over the last 20 years, we didn't update at the same time the motorcycle laws. So as our laws were adjusted accordingly, the motorcycle laws were not addressed when we did the same for automobile dealerships. So motorcycle dealerships were not addressed in that. And that's that's where the problem lied. So this resolves that issue, so that won't happen again.
Madam Chair,
Senator Pillion.
can we hear from VADA on this? They have an opinion on this.
Ann?
Madam Chair, Ann Gambardella with the Virginia Auto Dealers Association. Inasmuch as there are separate franchise sections for auto dealers, motorcycle dealers, trailer dealers, recreational vehicle dealers, these sections do not impact the auto dealers, so it's just not something that would impact our folks. This is language that's in our code. It's just not something that affects the auto dealers
But
directly.
you can't say unequivocally that it does no harm.
It shouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't apply to our people.
It was, staff has indicated that it was a technical error from a previous drafting. Okay. Is there anybody in opposition to this bill? Okay, the bill is before us.
Move to report.
Motion has been made to report. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Clerk, please open the roll. I don't have his proxy. I don't, wait. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to wrap up by saying quickly, thank you very much, but this is very similar language to the automobile dealerships, and what this does is ensures that the automobile dealerships and the motorcycle dealerships are being treated with parity.
Your bill passed. Okay, next on the docket, I think, is Senator Servo. And Senator Serval, do you have two bills before us? Okay. Why don't we start with the quickest one?
That's 995.
Okay.
You're either going to love it or hate it.
That's usually the way it goes with your bills.
Yeah.
You don't ever go for lukewarm, so, okay. Senate
Yeah.
Bill 995 is before us.
Thank you. So, Madam Chairman, Senate Bill 995 simply repeals the 14th enactment clause of what was then Delegate Hugo's legislation regarding the funding for WMATA. There was an enactment clause on that bill that restricted or prohibited WMATA from entering into a project labor agreement for any project and any future projects. And as at least those of us in Northern Virginia know, Phase 1 of Silver Line was built with a PLA, came in mostly in budget and on time. Phase 2 is not and has been a train wreck. So we think we should repeal this restriction on PLAs.
So, Mr. Chairman,
That's the
Madam
beginning
Chair.
and end. Senator Obenshain, yes.
So your evidence to support the proposition that it's a train wreck because of no PLA is what?
I can't be more specific than that. I can describe some of the problems, but I'll just note that also I believe the mixing bowl was built without a PLA, and I think that's the one Senator Saslaw cites too. It was kind of a mess.
Came in way over budget. and
Right.
They had some safety
And it
issues.
came in over budget because there was no PLA?
Senator Saslaw is better at making that argument than I am, I'll just say. But in general, we have another bill to repeal the restriction on PLAs generally, and this policy is consistent with that.
And again, they still remain voluntary. There's nothing in this bill that requires it. It
Right.
just removes a prohibition,
Right.
just for clarity. Okay, does anybody wish to speak in favor or in opposition? Okay, I expect you're going to speak in favor. Hi, Vicki.
Hi, greetings. Victoria Leonard, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Victoria Leonard, representing the Baltimore-Washington Laborers District Council, which is part of LIUNA. Thank you, Senator Serval, for introducing this. Basically, when they introduced the WMATA funding bills in Virginia, Maryland, and D.C., in Maryland and the District of Columbia, they didn't include a clause that eliminated the discretion of WMATA from deciding as a project owner whether it was in the best interest to do a PLA on a project. And so we are asking in this bill to remove that restriction that you have on the Virginia projects. This is would make it consistent with the funding with WMATA's discretion in the other jurisdictions.
Okay, anybody in opposition? Hearing none, the bill is before us.
Move to report.
Move to report.
Okay, motion has been made to report, and there's a second. Will the clerk
May I
please?
speak to the?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just.
Senator Obenshain.
Let me just say that I want to point out that we're adopting or reporting this bill citing, number one, two projects that did not go well when asked, heard absolutely no evidence supporting any link between the inefficiencies of those products and the lack of a project labor agreement. Number two, Maryland and the District of Columbia were held up as models of efficiency that we should emulate in terms of how we spend our state government resources, and I reject categorically that suggestion. I think that we are making a grave mistake by backing away from this policy. I know what direction we're headed. I know what's going to happen with this bill, but I think it's a grave error.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes, Senator Boysko.
Speaking to the bill.
Go ahead.
So no one is obligated to enter into a PLA if they do not wish to. However, I represent the majority of the Phase 2 Silver Line area and Dulles Airport, which controls that region. When a PLA is entered into, one, you are assured that there are no strikes. 2, you have an assurance that the people who are going to be on the job are well trained and understand exactly what they're doing. 3, you know that there are safety standards that are being appealed to. This is a common sense and reasonable thing. I am strongly supporting it, and I'm happy to be voting in favor of it today.
Okay, a motion is before the committee. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Ayes 8, no 7.
Your bill passes. Senator Serval, you can move
Thank you.
on to your complicated one.
And it's not too complicated. It's just probably going to be some argument. Senate Bill 664. Mr. Chairman, you all set?
Hold on one moment here. Yeah, there we go.
Got it.
Set. Senator Serval, what is your bill number, please?
664.
664. Any substitute or amendment to this bill?
I have, I think there's going to be an amendment made, which is friendly, but nothing, actually, I have one amendment, I'm sorry. There's one amendment I agreed to we can add, which is that should we adopt this, it's been requested that it have a delayed enactment to January 1 of 2021. I would move that amendment.
Okay, the amendment that it's a delayed enactment up till January or till next
January
July?
1 of 2021. So
Okay.
it's a 6-month delay from what we normally.
There's a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second for a delayed enactment until January 1, 2021. Could the clerk open the roll?
No, there's no. It's just
We just
verbal.
voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Senator Serval, you're anticipating another amendment?
Yeah, probably. Let me explain the bill.
All right, let's
So,
go with that first.
This bill would raise our auto insurance liability minimum and property damage minimum for the first time since 1975. Right now it says $100,000, and I expect there to be an amendment on that. But, Mr. Chairman, if you were to take $25,000 and put it in a time machine calculator deal, it would be worth about $125,000 today. The number one driving factor in the settlement of personal injury liability claims is medical bills. And if you were to take medical inflation instead of regular old inflation for $25,000 over the last 40 years, it would probably be closer to about $250,000 in terms of 1975 dollars versus today dollars. Okay, but the fact this number hasn't moved in what's now 44 years to me is astonishing. In addition, the property damage minimum in here is $20,000. A $20,000 car in 1975 would be the equivalent of like a Tesla or something today. You can't get a new car for $20,000 today. So the result of this, Mr. Chairman, is that the number of people that who are injured and are not fully compensated is growing. And in addition to that, people are not being fully compensated for the loss of their vehicles. And one other thing I'd like to point out is that when somebody who's injured who receives their health care from Medicaid, Medicaid has a lien on their recovery. And so if there's only $25,000 in coverage and there's not more, then that hurts Medicaid because then Medicaid doesn't get that reimbursement. And I know a lot of us are concerned about the growth in Medicaid, but part of the reason Medicaid's growing is because we keep pushing all this stuff into Medicaid instead of dealing with it. And so this is one way to help with Medicaid. So the last thing I'll say is I anticipate there to be some concern about how increasing rates might raise the number of people who can afford insurance, or that I will just note that I have a flyer from the insurance agents and brokers of Pennsylvania where they call it a myth that increasing minimum limits will lead to an increase in the percentage of uninsured motorists. They say statistics do not support that argument. Since 2007, more than a dozen states have increased their minimum limits: Alabama, Illinois, Louisiana, Oregon, South Carolina, Texas, and our two neighbors, Maryland and Ohio. Of these states, Louisiana had a 1% increase in their uninsured motorist percentage, while other states showed notable decreases, such as Maryland, which went from 14.9% to 12.2% as of 2012. And so I would just point out that history does not bear out these doomsday scenarios that you're probably about to hear. And having said that, Mr. Chairman, that's what the bill is, and I'm also happy. Right now it says $100,000. I'm happy to accept a friendly amendment for a lower amount if that's the committee's pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Smith.
Senator Obenshain.
You want an amendment now?
Sure.
35,000.
And I would support that, and I would second the motion.
What about the others, 35?
Well, we'll take it one amendment at a time. And,
Well, 35.
And this is to take the $25,000.
In my bill, it goes to $100,000. I would strike 100. I think the amendment is to strike $100,000 everywhere it appears and make it $35,000, and to strike $200,000 and make it $70,000.
Okay. Well, before we get into this, if you don't mind, let's hear from.
I would second that. I would second that motion. By the way.
Huh?
Let's vote on that before we hear everyone's thoughts.
On the line amendment to change the figure from.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
From 100, 200 to 3570.
To 100.
From 100, 200 to 3570. Wherever 100 appears, put 35. Wherever 200 appears, put 70.
Right.
The minimum limits would be 35,000 per person, 70 per accident.
Right.
Per accident.
Mr. Chairman.
One moment. Okay, let's. I think we're kind of rushing things here without hearing from people. Is there any lawful way I can?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The
Hold
point
this.
of order is that basically you can make a motion and second it, but then it's debatable.
Okay.
The only thing that's not debatable is the motion.
Okay,
to table.
let's. We are in a debatable posture here right now. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of?
Well, point of order. We need to vote on the amended.
I don't.
The
I'll
substitution.
gladly withdraw that. I mean,
I would
whatever speaks
appreciate
this
that,
long.
because we'll be voting on something where we haven't heard complete testimony. That's the whole point of this bill, and I just feel uncomfortable without hearing both sides of this thing before we start amending it.
I think both sides will be comfortable or minimally uncomfortable with this amendment, but glad to.
Let's not rush this thing. This is this has financial implications for a lot of folks. So, state your name. Are you in favor?
I am in favor. Mark Dix on behalf of the Virginia Trial Lawyers Association, Mr. Chairman. And as Senator Serville mentioned, when these limits were first enacted back in 1975, a 25-50-20 may have made sense. But with healthcare costs what they are today, lost wages, the value of vehicles, it's time for an update. I'd also note that the current levels, if we were to keep those, they unfairly shift the burden from the fiscally irresponsible tortfeasor to those that are fiscally responsible with respect to their UM and UIM. I suspect you'll hear some old saws about that there's going to be this rush of uninsured drivers if we raise the premiums. We've heard that for years, if not decades. We've never seen any data to back that up, and so we would appreciate your support of this bill. Thank you.
All right, next. Any questions? Okay, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee. My name is Carrie Ann Alford, and I am before you today as a private citizen and resident of Richmond, Virginia. I was in a car accident back in May 5th of 2019, almost 9 months ago. I will start off by saying that 9 months later, I'm still on one prescription and 7 very expensive supplements to help with inflammation in my brain and neck. I was sitting at a red light, minding my own business, and was hit from behind by a distracted driver. It was only then that I learned that I have the bare minimum requirement by insurance for an uninsured motorist hitting me, $25,000 compensation, which is also the year I was born, almost 45 years ago. My out-of-pocket costs, even with excellent insurance, was about $30,000, and that's when we stopped counting because my insurance would only compensate $25,000. After attorney fees and liens from the hospital and doctors, I will be compensated for only about $16,000, or just a little over half of what I actually submitted to insurance and have paid out of pocket. I am blessed with many resources. I am able to absorb that. I am perfectly fine, if Liberty Mutual is listening, perfectly fine with the check they are sending me. But even now, almost 9 months later, I struggle with brain and neck injuries. They are still healing. I struggle with headaches, neck pain from the damaged tendons and ligaments, and cognitive issues. We went ahead and submitted the claim because I was beyond what I could recover. I will get no payment for pain and suffering. I will not be fully compensated for what I paid out. I was not able to utilize advanced treatments for brain injuries because I knew insurance would not reimburse me later. I am here today for myself, but also to speak for the minimum wage workers, the single parents struggling to get by, and all those Virginians who are not as blessed as I am with resources of an excellent education, a family who taught me to fight for myself, and well-connected friends who are attorneys and offered to help me and represent me before the insurance company. They helped me navigate a scary process while recovering from a serious brain injury. The cost of healthcare treatments and recovery from serious car accidents has gone up exponentially over the years, but the minimum requirements have not. I ask this committee to advance this bill and protect Virginians in their most vulnerable time when they are the victims of an uninsured motorist causing an accident. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry for your injuries. That's got to be a difficult thing. Anyone else in favor? Chris, come on up. I assume you're in opposition to the
Yes,
bill?
sir. Chris Legault for APCI, Nationwide, and other insurers as well. This issue has been before you before, as recently as 2018. It resulted, when it was here in 2018, in a DMV study from December of 2018, just 13 months ago. That DMV study emphatically said in its recommendations, do not change the minimum financial responsibility limits in Virginia. Emphatically, clearly. The only reason posited by the trial lawyers and by the patron of the bill is we haven't done this in a long time. Let me give you some numbers and I'll explain to you why we haven't done it in a long time. And that's important to recognize. I hate to bore you with statistics, but they are very valid statistics in this report. They're not from me, they're right from the DMV report. We have a fairly good uninsured motorist rate, higher than anybody would like, no doubt, but still pretty good. We're ranked 17th out of 51 jurisdictions with a 9.9% uninsured motorist rate. Please remember that the national average is 13%, we're at 9.9. We have the third lowest insurance rates among our neighboring states, about 25% less than the national average.
When you say our
neighboring states, in the Mid-Atlantic, North Carolina, Maryland, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and others are in that. The chart is right here in the study. And I can
How many states are we third?
We're third in the region. In the country, and this is important too.
I know that number.
The states that have changed their minimum limits went to our minimum limits. We are the gold standard for minimum limits in the country. 44 states have minimum limits equal to or less than our own 25, 50, 20 limits. Equal to or less than. So that's critical. Only 6 states have higher limits. This change would put us at number 2 highest in the entire country. Only 2 states, Alaska and Maine, have 5,100 limits, and 4 other states are marginally higher than we are at 3060. Okay, that's where they are. This would put us number 2 in the entire country. As again, the DMV study very plainly says, do not change these rates. Here's a number of reasons why they said that. We've learned from the Bureau of Insurance, okay? They brought the statistics to the stakeholder meetings at DMV. Only about 14% of drivers in Virginia purchase the minimum limits now. What does that mean? It means 86% buy at least double that amount, at least double, if not 100, 300, 300, 500, a million, whatever it may be. But people can buy as much of it as they want to buy. It's the people at the low end of the economic spectrum who frequently are the ones who are buying the minimum limits coverage. And only about 14% of the drivers in Virginia, the insurance population, is buying that low-end 25, 50, 20 policy. There's an ample plenty insurance to cover claims. On property damage, the study showed 99.39% of property claims are settled under the current $20,000 limit. Many of them are settled under $10,000. So raising the property claim, just the property number, that's the third number in the substitute language, the 35, 70, 40 language. 40 is the property damage liability coverage. 90% of bodily injury claims are settled under $25,000, the current limit, and 65% of those are settled under $10,000. Who are we trying to help here? The bill only hurts the low income, the elderly, military people, etc. Again, the public can buy as much of it as they want, but the mandatory minimums are affecting the lower income people, younger people, military, etc. Another point, the size of the policy does not have any effect on the size of the claim. If I have $1 million policy, but I hurt somebody and it's a $20,000 claim, the fact that I have $1 million policy doesn't make it $1 million claim payout. It's still a $20,000 claim. Raising the minimums are only going to hurt the most vulnerable people among us and make them, and it's no old saw, as was stated, people who are forced out of the marketplace because of the higher prices that will be charged for the higher limits on these minimum people, they're going to become uninsured motorists. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, earning minimum wage, whatever the case may be, you got groceries, you got rent, you got health care expenses, you got a car payment.
Mr. Chairman.
You got an insurance payment.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McPike.
I think we get the idea. A question for Mr. Legal real quick. Is it your position that you would, in fact, advocate to reduce, based on your testimony, down to 10,000 the limits? And
no, sir.
That is a better public policy? Because, no. I mean, I understand your points, but what we're getting at is what are the thresholds of a minimum that haven't been changed since I was born?
The study that was just done 13 months ago says very clearly and plainly there's no reason to increase the current 25, 50, 20. And the numbers that I've given you, support that. People who have, like I was saying, car payments, groceries, et cetera, to pay, and insurance, well, if you run up the cost of that insurance product,
Mr. Chairman,
what's going to fall off the table?
We have the amendment before us, and I don't think we've heard anything about the amendment. I think that we ought to, just like in every other
Senator Obenchain withdrew it.
You withdrew it?
Yep. I'll make it again.
I was going to say, I'll move it now.
Well,
I'll move the identity.
All right, just hold on.
I just don't think there's any
Let's finish. Let's finish up. Mr. Legault, finish.
I would urge you not to support this bill. It's only going to hurt those who are the most vulnerable among us.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sure there are others that want to speak to.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Senator
for
Boysko.
Mr. Legault.
Yes.
Mr. Legault, would you be able to give us an idea of how much an insurance premium in general would go up if we were to go up to 35 and 70 as was proposed?
In the study, again, this is right from the study, it actually was priced out at 50, 100, and that was going to raise premiums about 12% for the average male 45 years old.
So, Mr. Chairman.
So that's going to vary policy by policy, person by person, but the average increase was going to be about 12%.
Senator Obenchain.
$40 to $60 per car per person.
I get 100% increase in my coverage for only 12% more. That sounds like a pretty good deal.
Not to those who don't have any money, Senator.
What about when those people are paying attorney's fees for reckless driving? I never heard that
All right.
concern before.
Senator Suderline, go through the chair. Here we go. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the bill?
Hi, my name is Judy Swiston. I appreciate Mr. Chairman and all the members of the committee. I'm with Black and White Taxi Cabs in Norfolk, Virginia, and we feel that these unintended consequences of raising uninsured motorist coverage for all the passengers that we transport and having all these people you say it's only 15%. Well, all of a sudden now I've got a lot more people that are passengers in my vehicle. If we're hit by uninsured motorists, we have to pick up that tab. And so all of a sudden, even though you may think it's only 12% and you think it's a great deal, what it is it's just going to cause us to have more uninsured motorist coverage. And it's not just going to be our uninsured motorist coverage. It's going to be the transit authority's uninsured motorist coverage. It's going to be every commercial vehicle in the state's uninsured motorist coverage. It's going to be your uninsured motorist coverage. It's going to raise everybody's uninsured motorist coverage.
Okay.
Because this uninsured motorist goes to
Okay.
the minimums.
Thank-
The one last
Okay.
thing, you were mentioning about health care costs. One thing you might consider is that the attorneys can bring the full amount of the medical bills, but they can't, but the insurance doesn't pay that much. So we're paying on the full medical bill, even if the insured really only got half.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman,
thank you.
I got a question for her.
May I ask?
Yes.
Senator Obenshain.
Don't you all have $125,000 minimum limits already?
Uninsured motorist still stays at the state minimums. And also, commercial auto liability is at a critical time right now. They're seeing double digits with
So-
no incidents whatsoever.
Further question.
Senator Obenshain.
So, are you telling me that you all buy the $125,000 limit coverage for your passengers or for other people, but you all your company elects minimum limits for your driver?
No.
For coverage?
For the passengers that are hit by uninsured motorists, I have to pick up that tab because I have to pick up their fault.
Oh, I get it. And I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand your argument. So you're arguing that this is going to create more uninsured drivers that is going to add to the burden on your coverage. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Yes.
thank you very much. Just an observation before we get to a motion. We ask people to do studies. They do studies, our state agencies, and the state agency, in this case, Division of Motor Vehicles, did the study, made the recommendation. It is still a fairly recent study, and the recommendation was not to take any action at this time. And while that is my recommendation to the committee, we operate on a motion. Senator Sertivell, would you like to close up first, and then we'll take a motion on your bill?
Well, I would just say I think that's kind of an oversimplification. There was a stakeholder group that met, and the stakeholder group, whatever they were, took some kind of vote, and there was a dissenting view, which you just heard from. So, in any event.
But indeed, the study was asked for, it was delivered, and I have confidence in the Division of Motor Vehicles that it was handled properly, and everything is going to be, a stakeholder driven operation. So
I move to amend 2570.
There's been a movement to a motion to
I'm sorry,
to amend
3570.
to amend 3570. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor? We'll record.
Aye.
No, we just say all in favor. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
John likes 100.
Let's do it on the board, please.
For the
This is for the amendment from Senator Obenshain. Hold on. I'm not. Barbara, do you have me still? Put me a no. There we are.
Ayes 9, noes 4.
Mr. Chairman, I move to report.
second.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Cosgrove.
I actually had another amendment to offer.
Senator
withdraw
Cosgrove,
that.
state your amendment.
The amendment, I have to get Lisa to draw this, is that the contingency fee that a lawyer would get from an award would still be based on the current rates.
A third.
Nope.
It's still the same.
Instead of getting 33 or 40% of 25?
I have absolutely no idea whether that's an appropriate. Staff, do you have a?
Is there a second? Is there a second for the motion?
Is it a proper amendment in this section of the code?
I would make a substitute motion to report.
Is this, before I make a ruling as to whether this is in order, because if we have to amend something that in the code that's not before us.
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw my amendment.
All right, he withdraws his motion, so the motion is no longer. Okay, so the motion is to report the bill as amended. Open the rolls. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay. Yeah, vote me nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is on its way.
So you get an extra $3,000 for your award.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator McPike.
I'd like to reconsider the manner in which we move to continue Senate Bill 87 regarding the Virginia Beach strong plates in order to give the patron a week to resolve some language that might be able to resolve the issue to still move it forward.
Okay, the motion is to reconsider the vote. All in favor, open, it's a voice vote, so all in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, it's back before us, and do you have another motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we pass the bill by for the week.
Motion is to pass the bill by for the week. Without objection, the bill is passed by for the week. I know, and while we're at it, I also would like a motion to take Senate Bill 968 by for the week.
So moved.
So Senate Bill 968 is also by for the week. And Senator Deeds, are you still with us? What do you have for us?
Senate Bill 290. I think there's an amendment to the bill. It's a simple bill that it does a lot, but it just makes changes to Chapter 750 of the Acts of Assembly for last year. The changes are necessitated by federal regulatory action delaying the compliance date for certain provisions of that act, and it has to do with commercial driver's licenses, changes we made last year.
And we have an amendment before us?
You do?
Move the amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Amendment's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment's before us. Senator Deeds.
Can you describe the amendment, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I had a quick question of the patron.
Senator DeStaff.
It's my understanding that this is definitely required by federal law, correct?
These are simply changes that we have to make because federal law changed from last year. Because a lot of this code section was changed by legislation, but this came before this committee last year, I think.
Exactly how I read it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I've got folks from Millicent's from DMV who can talk about the changes if you want more information.
All right. Could we hear from DMV, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Millicent Ford with the Department of Motor Vehicles. The bill makes about 6 different changes, all related to the administration of the Commercial Driver's License Program and Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration requirements. First change has to do with the release of medical information. Each year, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration comes in to conduct an audit of DMV and Virginia. And the first change would be to insert language that allows us to release medical information when that's related to a driver's application for a commercial driver's license. Currently, when they come in to inspect to see whether we have complied with the requirements, for example, if they look to see that a driver has certain vision that would require a restriction, they look to see whether our records correspond with that. So it's solely for auditing purposes. And so this change would permit DMV to release medical information in those specific situations to federal motor carrier as a part of auditing process. The second change is amending a 2019 enactment clause that lays out the effective date for DMV to comply with the entry-level driver training requirements for commercial driver's license holders. That was a change that we made last year, and the compliance date was at that time February of 2020. We've recently gotten notice that that compliance date has been pushed back to allow them to work out details of the program. It's going to be actually February of 2022. And so in addition to that, there's language that's included that would allow federal motor carrier to use a different mechanism to push the information to Virginia and other states when drivers, once it's implemented, when a driver applies for a commercial driver's license, they would anticipated using a commercial driver's license information system to push the entry-level driver training information to the states so that we have it when we issue the license. So it just makes those language changes to coincide with the changes in that in the federal requirements. The next change has to do with eliminating a requirement for a refresher course, a commercial driver's license refresher course. Currently, if a driver fails the knowledge or road test 3 times.
Mr. Chairman. Real quick.
Senator McPike.
Is there any opposition to this? I'm just, I love the information.
Question I had, this.
With all due respect, you were so persuasive.
This bill was brought to you, Senator Deeds, by
the administration.
DMV. Okay, there we go. How did I figure that out? All right, we have a motion to second report the bill. Open the rolls. Vote aye if you approve, nay if you don't. Barbara, could you get me again?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zeros. I believe there are no other matters.
He hasn't done it
okay. Here we go. All right.
I guess we're done.
Where is this thing?